What colour was I? Is this me? Yes. Yellow.
Yellow. So Gex is red, Gav is blue.
Okay.
I suppose I'll watch.
Don't have to. You can play
Yeah.
if you'd like.
No. I'm good.
Look, my tabletop's acting very strange. There we go. Well, I was blue. Yes, I am. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Take a screenshot of that character sheet just in case.
Yeah, good idea. Everybody remember who they are and what things are?
Ish. What the fuck did I just do?
Are you deleting things like Gex?
I just deleted something by accident.
Give me to rewind back 10 seconds.
Oh.
Does that work?
Nah.
Maybe. Oh well.
It's fine. It was just some suggestion thing. Got it written down somewhere else.
Okay. Your suggestions for a minor effect. Okay, yeah, minor effect is fine.
Yeah.
That did weird shit for me. That deleted the map out of the middle of the table.
Yeah, same.
Really? Okay. I upload it in again. Is it there again?
No.
No. Sorry.
I
Oh,
know.
you're using one world now. No. You have to click on the name after you've selected the where it says steadfast. No. I see bags appearing on the screen.
Yep.
For a quarter of a second, and then they just vanish.
Any good now?
No, what about if we all leave and come back?
Yeah, I've heard that fixes it sometimes. It's a one world thing. Yeah, I see the map now.
Weird. Okay. Yeah, fine.
I think it's a known issue with one world.
Bear with me, because I've just remembered I actually need the rulebook up to play this.
Help, probably.
Well, like, the thing is, I don't need it a much, but then every so often I know I will. And obviously, you know, it's our first session of this, so it'll be good to look things up if we do need to.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of questions, I'm sure. Let me find it as well.
What, core book? Player's guide? Core book?
Core book, yeah, I think, yeah. For the sake of if we do need to look things up, it's good for us all to have the same doc.
Where's my pen?
Yeah.
I think I've already got it open.
Yep.
Oh, you know, actually, what I was...
Core book, yes.
Did I say I found... cheat sheets for this? No, that was for Wrath and Glory. They're all kind of mixed up in my head at the moment.
We're in Orilla, right? Or something?
Correct.
Nice. I remembered that. I didn't write it down.
I definitely downloaded the core book. It's not fucking in my downloads. Was that before I rebuilt my computer? Yes.
Is it in your D&D folder in my documents?
No.
That should be in your G drive.
Yeah, no, I'm downloading it again from the G drive. I must have made the
Right.
character before I rebuilt.
Is there a particular page of the book that has like a synopsis of the system or something along those lines?
Honestly, most of it is a question of This is what I mean is that actually I've tried to look for stuff like that, and I'm realizing the system is so simple in terms of how it is to play that there isn't really much of that other than something that kind of translates levels into rolls, which then is just a case of times it by 3. That's the only thing that I started thinking at the start. Oh yeah, I want to have a thing in my head that goes, right, if this is a level 3 character, what do you need to roll? And then I remembered, oh yeah, you just times it by 3.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I will ask you guys to keep in your head is a sense of what your skills are with regards to assets and hindrances, I think is the word. So if I ask for a roll, please tell me, okay, I think I have an asset in this,
Yeah.
or okay, I think I have a difficulty or a hindrance. Is that the word?
Enabler?
It's an
An
I.
inability, yeah, an
Inability.
inability, yeah.
Yeah, where am I?
So if you look at your skills, Gav, you've got
Was it trained, skilled,
Oh,
trained,
yeah.
specialized, and inability.
Retarded. Yeah, I'm retarded in a
I
lot of
don't
skills.
think you fellas are specialized in anything just yet, are you?
no,
Don't believe so.
no.
But that's
Yeah.
fine. And if I start giving out XP cards, then maybe you will be.
Trained.
Bear with me because I've just got a really cat-handed way of opening up the core book, which does it. And
Draw Flash.
Mhm.
that guy.
Is he that guy?
Well, he's
Your
someone you've
rival.
encountered in the past.
So yes, he is the man I'm going to be cursing.
Well, yeah, and yet, like, yeah, he has what you want. He's got the successful career and the exposure and that.
Brilliant.
So beside our ciphers,
Yes.
we have level and opt. What are they? So for level, I've got like a level 5 force field, as in that's what's written on the card.
They all have a level which is the level incorporates a couple of things, and basically the level of an object or an NPC or whatever is the difficulty to interact with it, and that will be everything from the difficulty to destroying it to the difficulty of identifying it. Your ciphers
Okay.
don't take a roll to use once you've worked out what they are, but if you uncover stuff in the world, it might take a roll to work out what it is.
And then
And
what's that opt? Is
They
that
are
like
there are
optimized?
optional. It is optional, but actually, I don't think I've given you anything that has an optional property to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. When you say an asset, for example, gives an asset to speed defense. What does an asset?
Your difficulty goes down by 1, so it
Right,
is
one
as if you're
level.
trained in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, your difficulty goes down by a level, not by 1 on the roll.
So
please don't modify your rolls unless you have something that says specifically you can add 1 to the dice, or you can add 2 to the dice.
yes.
But tell
Copy.
me if you have assets and stuff,
So
because I will.
this thing giving me an asset to speed defense means something attacks me or does a
It
check
means if
against
something
me related to
attacks
speed,
you,
I can
yeah,
level it down by 1.
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Cool.
So you having an asset in speed defense, if something attacks you and that thing is level 4, you need to defend against level 3.
Yes. Sounds fun.
Does it sound simple enough to everybody?
Yes.
Like I say, paper in terms of like paperwork on my end, it's really simple because all I need to do is think of one number for everything, more or less. And then certain things get customized in terms of, so some monsters will say, okay, but actually defending against it is a set bit more difficult, or tracking it is a step more difficult and things like that. But broadly speaking, I don't have a lot of stats and things to take care of. So hopefully my writing is going to carry this forward. Let me know as well, because we'll do most of this without much assets in tabletop other than the rolls, obviously. Let me know if we get to the end of this and you say, no, I would like some more visual aids, or it would be helpful to have a map or something like that.
Yes.
Because I thought about it, and then I didn't do it.
Fair enough.
But are we ready to begin?
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Crofty, are you watching?
Yeah, I'm just gonna mute whilst I play. I don't want to interrupt.
Fair enough, mate. Yeah. Okie dokie. So I know you've all read it, but you have been invited to Orilla, the capital city in Milave, insofar as Milave has a capital city, to meet with a potential employer named Marceau. Marceau, you know, is the ostensible leader of a tribal faction within Milave, a particular ethnic group who cover a large area of ground. They're one of the more populous groups, but they aren't organized. They aren't really part of the mainstream society. And as such, Marceau isn't a member of the Milave Council. He doesn't hold high office. This doesn't mean that he isn't wealthy. This doesn't mean he isn't influential and powerful and full to the brim with resources, and as such could be a very powerful employer, as well as an important target to those who would seek what he has. You have not worked with him before, but his reputation precedes him, in particular as the longtime patron of another archaeologist, another explorer, hunter of the Numenera, and erstwhile rival to some in the party, one Dana Droflash. You know, whose fame precedes him, but perhaps his skill, well, that's for you to decide. Marceau is known to rely on members of his own faction wherever possible, and as such, being offered a role tends to mean exciting, highly specialized, and quite well paid work. It's not often turned up. You have travelled together for some time and have arrived in Orilla together, spent the night in a modest lodging house before going to meet your host in the morning. Does anybody have anything they'd like to do especially to prepare for this beforehand?
So we've heard of Droflash, but
You know Droflash. I think Sam knows him quite well. In terms of basically, he works. He is another professional in the same field in terms of hunting out artifacts and exploring. He's a bit of a rock star. He's a bit of a showman. He's quite well known, especially in certain cities, and has been working with Marceau for some time. Not
And his
exclusively
long,
for,
elegant
but-
hair. Sorry. Continue.
and then just and we're then, I suppose, familiar enough with Marceau as well.
Marceau isn't someone you've met before, but in your travels, in your exploits, even being tier 1 characters in this game, it means that you have traveled. It means that you have encountered certain kind of societal connections in the past, and Marceau has a reputation, like I say, knowing what you do about Milave as a nation. Milave, as I said to you before, is kind of broken up into it's factionalized. There are kind of tribes that rove the land or guard certain territories, and Marceau is the head of one of the wealthier ones. To the point that I mean, he has armed guards kind of around the city and an armed presence within Orilla, as do many other kind of factions and groups. But his are prominent to some degree.
So we're kind of talking like city states.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about Milave. Yeah, there are townships and there are homesteads and there are city states that kind of make up the whole land. And as such,
loose agreements between them.
Yeah, more or less the only kind of unifying factor is a fierce independence from the Pytharan Empire. Orilla is as a nation is only really about 100 years old, and that's versus the Empire and much of the other parts of the Steadfast having 1,000 years of history. You know, 1,000 years of recorded history, and Milave has only been around for about 1/10 of that, and so there is this kind of slight kind of very loosely defined sense of nationalism within the nation, but also a bitter rivalry and a bitter kind of factionalization within it as well.
And then how are we with the Anquan nation? Because I assume that's what spreads down here along Pike's Head.
Anquan, in terms of yourself as individuals, you're free to
No,
travel.
more as the nation. Like, as in, does Malayv have like good enough relations currently with the Pytharan Empire and its other neighbors, or is it we don't like them and we actively guard our borders and stuff like that?
Things are colder to the east and better guarded, and the further east you go in Malayv, the more of a kind of military force you'll find, the more distrust you'll find. In terms of going to the west towards Anquan, to be honest, especially with the major river coming through here, which is the name of it I can't remember, there's a funny kind of attitude towards Pike's Head as to whether that should be, whether that should in fact be part of Malayv, where it should remain Saint Anquan, whether it should be independent entirely, and this kind of entire area. That's not to say things are cold with Anquan, and there's almost certainly more trade through this northern border, as than there is, through the east, and to the south there, you've got that heavy. The Sadara River makes a fairly heavy border in itself, and again, there is kind of commerce across it. But yeah, Anquan is probably the closest ally and the closest what's the one I want to say, kind of partner in commerce and things like that that Malayv has.
Cool.
Yes.
And I'm actually going to look at the rulebook to see what it actually says about that, but who cares? I've said it, so it counts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anquan is a much more going on than just what's happening here in its kind of southern part. If we get the min map back up. You can see Malayv down here. Anquan is much bigger.
Oh, yeah. Big old nation.
Okay, yeah.
So this area being divided by the river there, it gets a bit of a personality on its own, but it is firmly, it is part of Anquan as a nation. Or as a kind of state within that.
We're kind of meaningless to them other than trade, I suppose. Do we count as like nationals of Malayv? I know we didn't really write our backstory that deep, did we?
I'm going to let you guys decide on that.
Okay.
If you'd like, you can roll.
Well, I was going to be no, because I'm a sort of an ascetic, like a kind of a wandering monk, like that you might have had in either Japan or the kind of hermit monk.
Yeah, no borders, man.
Yeah, kind of that type of sort of hippie.
Yeah.
So I don't really care where I'm from. I was
Nationality is not terribly important within the setting unless you are actively working for a particular state or actively working for a particular political force. The notion of kind of traveling merchants and free agents, and especially kind of nanos and adventurers and hunters of Numenera in general. It's quite common for people like that to travel throughout the Steadfast.
Cool. That works for me then. Born on the road.
Yeah. I'll be Malavian, why not? Strong sense of not giving a fuck about where I'm from, but
yeah,
leading in free commerce, I guess.
I feel like
and that can be how you might have come into contact with Marceau and having a mutual acquaintance or something.
Yes.
I feel like I've come from the city somewhere. Maybe Glaive or something.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that this is the city under the sea?
Where are you putting so? Let me control F on that.
In Atlantis over there.
Salachia, the salt city, is buried beneath the surface of the lake.
Ah,
Cool.
rad. You need iron boots to explore that temple.
Commonly called the Salt City, is an immense underwater structure in the shape of a wheel. It's nearly 1,500 feet underwater. It's lightly populated with fewer than 1,200 inhabitants. I'm on page 195 of the core book.
Interesting. Anyway, to answer your question from earlier, I do not believe I need to do any preparation for this. For our mission.
I don't know what to do. What I would do as preparation. Let's get ready to meet this clown.
Indeed.
In which case we'll begin in the morning.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're awaking fairly early. This time of year, the sun kind of reaches the buildings that you're in and some of the higher levels fairly early on indeed. And it's a cold sun to start with. You know, the room wakes you before it starts to warm up in terms of light kind of peeping through the curtains and around. And then almost immediately the kind of bustle of the city pops up and comes around. It's hard to get a moment of quiet in Orilla without actively being silent yourself. And those of you who are used to, all of you being used to time spent on the road, time spent in solitude, this affects you particularly. Orilla, you know, if you look in the rule book, it's notable in the sense that it has a strange structure in the middle, which it's known as the All Speak, and it translates any and all language into a language comprehensible by the listener. Unfortunate effect of this is that sounds kind of pop into the head kind of unbidden. It's very hard to keep secrets. It's very hard to talk in. Which is on one hand what makes it such a good hub of commerce. It's such a kind of melting pot of the different factions, the different tribal groups within Milave and around the whole continent. But on the other hand, it makes it difficult to get a moment of quiet there. The city's kind of hustle and bustle is starting more or less by the time you're even getting out of bed. And the lodging house, you can hear people moving in the rooms around you quite quickly. I think people are keen to get a move on. Anybody with business to do is wanting to start early.
Well, that'll be me, considering we have our meeting today. So I'll be up. I'll say some prayers, I guess, or I'll go through my kind of calisthenics and checking my augments and the different modifications my body has undergone over the years, making sure they're all still there and working in whatever way they're meant to be. And then I'll go down to the kind of common room, I suppose, from the dorms, and just be sitting there munching away on something.
Kind of be sat there putting on my spectacles, putting my spectacles away after putting down my light reading book of the Malavian city guards protocols and treatises on law and keeping civil obedience.
I'll stroll into the room 10 minutes late, pulling on my leather jacket and see if I can procure some kind of caffeinated beverage.
There are kind of brews and ethers in terms of steam coming out through a door in the side of the dining area, and food is being brought out. Breakfast is included with your room, but other meals are not.
Excellent.
Now that you're all together, would you like to describe your characters? Let each other know what you look like.
Yeah, brother Elias is a fairly rotund, fat individual wearing. Well, I don't really know the environment here. I assume it's warm enough. From what I've read, weather is quite bland towards the warm side in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be wearing something like very, very simple, like one big ass stretch, like a kilt, I suppose. You know, the way you'd get just like 40 feet of material and you wrap it around a certain way, and that's kind of his clothing. So he's probably
Like a
got
plaid.
he's got one bare shoulder, with traces of, I don't know, nanoparticles running through his veins and things like that on it. And maybe his knuckles are kind of shiny and polished, but he's got big fat chubby hands, and he's a fairly big fat belly. He's probably got his head shaved, and I'd say he's in his kind of mid-40s, early 50s, and he's got a long beard with every now and then there's a trace of light goes down one of the, what's the word, fiber optic cables that make up his beard. And he's always kind of happy in a really infuriating way. And he's just there, you know, stuff in his beard as he's eating and drinking. He's probably got something inappropriate, like a big tankard of ale or beer or something that, you know, you don't normally drink for breakfast, but he's all about kind of living life as it's presented. And he doesn't spend much time in large cities, so he's making the most of it. But yeah, through his kind of chubby fatness, all his skin underneath it, you can see stuff. You know, whether you want to call it nano or cyber or whatever, it's there.
Cool.
Along with all the dust of the road, I assume.
Yeah, and he travels kind of light, but he's come down from the room intending to go to this place, and from this place go on to the road again. So he's probably got like the equivalent of a very simple knapsack, and his shield, which is sitting down by his, which is sitting down by the edge of the chair he's on. I haven't really come up with anything for the shield. I'm thinking like a very odd shaped. I'm initially thinking like the door of a car or some other kind of vehicle, kind of that type
like
of
that,
shape,
yeah.
but like something maybe from a different age that's made of something fucking cool and like adamantium, you know, some fancy shit. But it's just an oddball shape that he's turned into a shield, if that
It
makes
is
sense.
a steel and ceramic laminate. I'm deciding.
Cool.
Okay.
It also says he has light armor, so the cloak, the crap he has around himself is some sort of fucking carbon filament weave, blah blah blah.
Sounds good.
So in complete comparison to what Arnold Judas would assume as some sort of road trash that is Gav's character at first insight. Obviously, he doesn't think that now after these years of knowing him through whatever. Arnold Rimmer is not Arnold Rimmer. Arnold Judas is stood there wearing his khaki archaeology shorts with his very knee-high socks and low-cut boots, along with a lovely tie. He's also wearing a rather large leathered with a fur collar coat, which counts as his light armor. You notice that he's very prim and proper. He's got patches on his khaki shirt on the underneath of his jacket. You can only assume that these are patches he's made himself to reward himself for something he's done, and they look rather mundane and yet flashy. You know, like first adventure completed. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. You know, survived a night in the wild. You assume him to be a little bit of a smug arsehole for no reason. He's got nothing going for him. Big forehead, short hair. Kind of looks down his nose at everyone.
Yeah.
Is he visibly armed? Is he kind of carrying much?
Not that you can see.
Got a cat
Underneath his coat, if anything.
Yeah, so Hector Ironsack, Doctor Hector Ironsack. I don't know. Well, he's like late 30s, kind of permanent suntan, scruffy beard and hair with his hat that prevents the sun from glaring in his eyes. I've got just sort of plain black trousers and a scruffy looking leather jacket, which isn't enough to be considered armor. Got a whip I will keep at my hip, coiled up. It's made of some kind of recovered high tensile strength fiber optic cable. It's kind of translucent, but very tough. He's kind of a bit of cocky, but kind of looks fairly scruffy, but is fairly cocky and intelligent. Just sort of uses that to, well, no, I'm not that intelligent actually, but fairly cocky and just disarming. Coat's got
One of the lads.
Coat's got a few pockets sewn on the inside for carrying valuables, just in case he'd need to. That's about it, really.
The only other thing I'd mention about Arnold is as the light moves through the room from the dawn, you can just sense that his shadow isn't quite as heavy as the rest of yours, and light seems to somewhat pass through him. If you were to put the sun on the direct opposite of him,
Interesting.
most of you would know that already.
And Hector is skinny but wiry, kind of what's the word? Agile looking, not necessarily super bulky, but looks like he can handle himself fairly well.
Like Arthur and Peaky Blinders.
No fucking idea, mate.
You not watch that?
No.
Ah.
I have not. Kind of like a I don't know, middleweight fighter as opposed to a heavyweight.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. That's about it.
Breakfast comes through, and hot drinks are more or less plentiful, to the point that the waitress won't kind of give you the peace to talk for filling up your drinks and bringing out new things. But food itself is, fairly rudimentary. I think that they might be compensating with the hot drinks, and you order one thing, and she keeps on bringing things out in terms of beverage. Breakfast itself is mostly kind of more or less just mushrooms on toast. There is some kind of spice across the mushrooms, but it's kind of hard to determine what. It's all a bit thin, but there's been quite a lot of butter put into it, which makes up for the meal itself.
Can't complain.
Yeah, as long it's better than you get on the road.
Yeah,
it's fine by me.
Plenty of hot drink. Get that down me.
Seems all slightly too elegant for me, to be honest with you. I'm quite happy with just a standard ration.
Not used to a home cooked meal, obviously.
And then, having eaten, you can see people around you in the lodging house already. Everybody's kind of getting up. You aren't the first to leave. You aren't the last by far, but there is a sense of eagerness to leave and to get out into the day. This is a with bustle and hustle and business to be done. It's hard to track anybody through the crowd. Things kind of move around in this way, and the town. You're in a part of town where the buildings aren't huge, but they're closely packed together, and there are alleyways, and there are ginnels, and there are kind of patchwork of little streets kind of built together. You have the location of Marceau's compound, and it's about a 10-minute walk. You're on the edge of one part and into another, and you move here. And when I say compound, I mean you go through this full gamut shift from, as I say, kind of tight, not quite favela slums, but kind of tight buildings, through somewhere that's not especially suburban, but things are more well placed, and this is an area which will have permanent shops rather than stalls and marketry, into an area which has no public facing commerce at all, but is rather villas and buildings with large fences around them and large residential houses, that sort of thing. You know exactly what you're looking for. And Marceau's compound is well attended by these guards that I've told you about, and they ostensibly human wear armor which is chitinous, as if it's been cloven from a large beetle or some other kind of insect. It's thin and iridescent, but covers them really quite well. You know, they look as though it would be hard to puncture with that.
Cool.
And a few of them stand on the street. A few of them stand on the building, which is not far inside the fence. Kind of everybody watching over the gate. The building is a kind of mixture of stone and brick, with ramparts. Not quite ramparts, but you know what I mean. Parapets. And a tall central chamber, which you can see has large windows from the outside.
How opulent is this building in comparison to the surroundings?
Give me a roll. Give me an intellect roll.
Okay.
If you know anything about kind of the history or these things, you can have an asset on that.
Okay. I'm trained in perception, and I don't know what that means.
Okay, I'm not going to give you. Yeah, I won't give you perception for this because you're actually trying to work something out rather than just noticing it.
I have an intellect edge of 1.
Well, you can apply an intellect effort if you'd like automatically. Yeah.
Yeah. And I rolled, I think that's 14.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So in terms of the buildings themselves, to be honest, Marceau's compound doesn't look as though it would be more expensive. Where the money's gone is probably into the architect. It's a bit more flamboyant. As I say, you're talking about these parapets. You're talking about kind of towers and a large window chamber, and this is in comparison to buildings of about the same size, but that look much more conservatively residential. They look more like large houses, like large homes of the kind that you would get in a nation which is fundamentally built on agriculture. Regardless of you being in a large city, you're in an area that isn't a major religious capital. It isn't a major capital of technology.
So it's a bit flashier than the rest.
It is flashy. Yes, that's exactly right. In a way that's kind of flamboyant, almost is the word I want to use there.
Interesting.
Should follow up in regards to flamboyantness. Does it look up to code? With my
give me your roll.
For my particular interest in the regulations and laws of the land, I would obviously take an interest in everything and want to know everything about the places where we're going.
Yep.
So I'm trained in this.
It's an intellect roll. You are trained in it. Yep.
So I got 3. I don't know. What do I add to that? Nothing.
You don't add anything to it. You've only rolled a 3. So you actually suspect it might not be. It being so much, not taller, but kind of more irregular across the top. And like I say, in terms of these parapets, these kind of towers on the corners of it, and having such large windows, you wouldn't be surprised if it weren't.
Keep that in my back pocket and keep that to myself.
But you can approach the gate.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I assume that's what we're doing.
Yes,
While we're doing all these rolls, we're wandering through.
Yeah, walking up on it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I presume there's guards on the gate.
Yes, there are. As I say, there are a small kind of cadre of guards at street level, and you can see more on the other side of the fence. As I say, some up in these towers, these parapets for the homestead, and some. No, you can't see through the fence, but as I say, some on the street. But the guard on the fence kind of looks to you. They're holding spears, effectively.
We'll walk straight up and say, Arnold Judas and company. Take me to your boss, please, sir.
The guard that you're speaking to looks to the other one, gets the nod, and turns and opens the gate.
Let's stroll on in.
My good man.
And what you can kind of come into a large courtyard. It is sanded on the ground, and this is sand as opposed to the dirt in the street outside. It's not swept, but it's really clean. And then a kind of modest step into the ground floor. Although you can see, as I say, this large chamber is a layer above you.
All right, we'll wait to be led on or whatever.
I was gonna, yeah, sorry. The door on the house opens ahead of you, and out steps a person that you would, dressed as you would associate with servant class within Orilla. They have simple black clothes and a white shirt underneath that. It's a kind of skinny kind of somewhere in between a young man and a slightly older boy. And they open the door and kind of bend slightly to gesture you in, welcome you in.
Some sort of extravagant hand gesture.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
As a thank you.
And are you following them in? Following him in?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, lead
And
on.
so as you approach, the boy kind of turns wordlessly and walks on into the house. And going on in here, the sand color outside and the mixture of kind of brick and stone that was making up the outside of the house is replaced with a kind of pastel wallpaper kind of effect. And again, wallpaper is not incredibly common within Orilla, although you will have seen it in other, especially kind of aristocratic homes in other parts of the Steadfast. Orilla being a land of modest tastes and kind of understatement, although within the diversity there, and although Glaive does not have that kind of conservatism built into its necessary culture, Orilla itself has a kind of simplicity and a kind of not quite rusticness, but as I say, kind of, yeah. And
somewhat out of place.
And so stepping into Mas Ho's home again, it gives this sense of flamboyance, especially things being kind of pastel colored and quite light and quite clean. There are other staff that you can see moving around, although you can carry on leading your, following the boy that you're with there. There are changes in the shades in the wallpaper, almost in a way that individual spots might look different the second time you look at them, and certainly as you're walking on, the hue kind of shifts in a way that you're not sure if you're moving into an area that is subtly different to the one you've just moved from, or if it has changed subtly as you have walked. As I say, the wallpaper kind of, it has a kind of hue change and shift through a very light pink, through a kind of lavendery purple, into a the kind of green that you would get on a spring leaf, into a canary yellow or a primrose, onto a more gentle, almost red, back into the pink. And kind of will switch and shuffle and shift through those. But the boy leads you to a staircase, and this goes up into what you would surmise would be the large chamber above you. Heading onto the stairs, the door ahead of you opens, and unaccompanied comes a face with whom you are all familiar. This is Danadroflash.
The flesh.
He stands Approximately 6'1", wearing similar khakis to what Arnold is wearing. His a little more dirty, and dirty in a way that does stand out in the house. His boots especially have seen a few miles. They are scuffed around the toes. His sleeves are turned up. His cuffs are wrinkled. His face is tanned and weathered in a way that is has spent a lot of time in the field, and his hair, although cut short, is ruffled and slightly spiked. He has quite the grin, and is stepping down the stairs past you.
I'll make room for him.
Right.
Mhm.
Just let him pass. I hold no animosity towards this man.
I will let him pass, but I will be saying things under my breath.
He doesn't say anything yet. Or he doesn't say anything as he's passing you.
I will say. I don't know what I'll say. Nothing, I suppose.
As he gets to the bottom of the staircase, he turns to the right when you have come from what would be the left there. So as I say, he goes into a direction in the house that you haven't been yet. He isn't going towards the door.
As soon as he's out of earshot, I'll be like, smug, arrogant bastard. Wherever I go, he's always sniffing around.
Don't like the cut of his jib.
You would say that.
From the door upstairs, you can hear chimes that might be from some kind of string instrument. They might be from something like a wind chime, but you can hear kind of chimes of sound coming down. The boy who's been leading you stops at the door and looks past you and away from you.
Do we go in?
Is he
Yeah,
looking?
we've been
I'm going to look.
invited, so I'm just going to go in.
Alright.
Yeah, and as you go in, you come into a room that is, as big as it looked from the outside. It's much larger than other rooms you've been in, especially compared to your kind of cramped bunkhouse that you stayed in the night before. This is, it seems, Marceau's bedroom. It has a large window which faces south and gets a lot of sunlight, especially this time of day. It is warmer than anywhere you've been already today, and warmer than you've been for a while. Although there doesn't appear to be a fireplace, but there is a kind of twinkle in the air. When I say this appears to be Marceau's bedroom, there is what is probably a bed, but is kind of round and kind of soft looking pink cushion with a person laying on it.
Interesting.
There doesn't appear to be anyone else in the room at this point.
And is there any other chairs?
There is a couch near the bed.
Oh, well, I'll go up and sit down on the couch.
I'll just lean on the side of it.
Yeah, so
Yeah. And as you come up on this person, there's a couple of things you notice. One is that they are probably naked. They are. When I say probably, I'll clarify that in a second. But they are human, fairly pale with dark hair, and a body that looks kind of corpulent is the word I want to use. Overweight in a way that they're obviously very strong and obviously have done almost nothing to earn it. They don't move unless they can help it, but yet at the same time, they kind of stand a little like Fisk in the Daredevil program quite recently. This person's big and
Oh, no, I'm just
fairly
picturing
powerful.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes, sure. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. When I say probably naked, I mean that this soft cushion is actually, as you get closer, has kind of pink fronds and tendrils coming off it that might look velveteen if it weren't for the fact that they were actively kind of moving on their own volition. There's no wind in the room, although there appears to be a completely open window. And they are kind of wrapping around him at crucial areas and crucial points. Yeah, these tendrils, these fronds, they are, as I say, kind of caressing the person in front of you.
Lord.
He looks at you and speaks. He says, good morning, gentlemen. I see
morning.
you have accepted my invitation to come here and discuss a particular assignment. It is, I believe, tailored towards your skills, your specialties as explorers and experts in certain factors of the world around us. You'll notice, although he's speaking with an accent, he's speaking the truth, which is the common language across the Steadfast. His lips don't match with what he's saying. And this is probably, I'm not even going to ask for a roll. This is probably, a faculty of the Allspeak, of the auto translate in Orilla. It's not something you'll be too unfamiliar with, if you've spent any time in the city before.
So this isn't just a localized event. The wheel that you were talking about, or the artifact.
The whole city has this auto translate.
Okay.
And so people speak whatever language they want. Some people are probably speaking some kind of gibberish, and yet everybody knows what they're saying. Children learn to speak very early on in Orilla. Or perhaps they never speak at all, but always find themselves heard.
Well, this kind of sits nice with me, being very much one for the truth of, the actual truth opposed to the language of the truth. So I'll just, not like if it is a nice room, or I'll find something nice to say about the place. Even if it's gaudy and horrible, I'll find something nice.
As I say, there's a kind of this shifting hue wallpaper has continued in here, but there are kind of stone decorations. There is white marble kind of plinth statues around the place, and as I say, you have these very large windows towards the south, which are capturing an awful lot of daylight. Deliberately positioned to do so, so they've caught the dawn and will probably hold light all through the day, even in the shortest days of the year. The room is, as I say, it is quite comfortably warm enough to sit naked, despite there having been a chill outside and even in other parts of the house that you've seen so far.
I would obviously never ever be naked in front of people. Not befitting of one of my station, even if that station is non-existent. I would find this whole thing very awkward, him being naked, by the way.
But Marceau's going to continue speaking. He says, and so I must apologize for the vagueness of my invitation, but at this stage, things are a matter of confidence, and I must keep certain facts out of the hands of my enemies. I'm certain that you understand what I mean.
Discretion, yes.
And so, Doctor Hector and Brother Elias and Monsieur Judas. I don't know why he's comical French, but he's comical French now.
I'm okay with that.
I have an assignment for you, and he waves his hands, and the room kind of shimmers, and you realize that the couch that you've sat on or leaned against is suddenly becoming kind of frondy in the same way that the bed is, and these fronds extend quite quickly. They kind of shoot out from it and kind of wrap up around you. It isn't unpleasant. It's like it's like being brushed by leaves as you're walking through trees or something like that. As I say, they're kind of around you, but then they retract and they retreat, and you're in a different room. And this room is lit by strips of some kind of light from the top. It's all white and has tables set around. Marceau has come here also, as well as the sofa, as well as his bed, and he is now on a kind of plinth at the end of one part of the room, away from the tables. You will notice a couple of people dressed in similar kind of chitinous uniforms stationed on corners of the room. A couple of people stationed in the similar black and sorry, there was a noise in the room with me. It's stationed in the similar kind of black and white uniforms as the house staff, and they are attending to the trestle tables on which there are a couple of stone artifacts, which you can't quite identify yet. Marceau gestures his hand. You'll also see, you will also see stood next to the largest of these stone artifacts, Droflash again, looking the same as he did a couple of moments before when you saw him. And Marceau will gesture towards the tables and say, please examine, determine what you can from this, from my treasures that I have here.
Would these be Numenera?
Yes, they will be. Yes, they are items of Numenera. This is what's implied, at least here, is that you have, as I say, some of it is stone blocks. Some of it is a little more esoteric. Although you can go over and you can take a look. I don't even have anything that I can use to show you the layout of this room because
I have a look, but I do not understand Numenera particularly well, so I cannot really figure out what they are.
I'm inept at understanding Numenera.
Yes.
So you're our specialist there, Sam, or should I say?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm not specialised in it, but I will definitely look at it.
You're not retarded in it.
Yes. I have no training in it. That's probably why I'm bad at my job.
Yes. I didn't say that.
Yeah, I'll look at it, Jed, and try and decipher what it is I'm looking at. Ah, it's a paperweight.
Something.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. It's my fault. I'm trying to see if I've got something that I can just draw anything on.
What happened to that?
What did happen there?
One of my cards just turned up in my hand. Opposed to.
Sorry, folks. Yeah.
Don't worry.
Well, Sam's moved position on the table, which is kind of
it's fine. I know where my character sheet is.
Sorry, folks. 2 seconds. This I can use to draw upon. I hope.
I don't know if you can, Jed. I think you might have to draw on the map.
Great. Yeah, fine. Okay. What I need to do is work out. Sorry, this is. I did sod it. Let's just talk about it. So Sam's going to go over and take a look at these nice objects.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Here we go. Got a nice white space here. Right. Let's say this is where Marceau has landed. And so you've got a couple of tables about the place. I'm going to remove that one. And Droflash is there. And then, so he is looking over, as I say, there are pieces of stone all along this one.
Is he looking at one right now?
Yeah, he's kind of over here looking at this, which is the largest piece, and you'll see that they all are kind of decreasing in size in a way that I think if they were put together, they'd follow some kind of uniform shape. And you can all see this from looking together. That actually, what you probably have here is parts of a set made out of stone, and probably that would be aligned in some way.
Okay.
Just
Yep.
while Arnold is having a look at all these objects, I'm going to wander kind of the outside of the tables and just take a look at any other ornamentation or pictures, or trying to get a better read maybe of his interests just from what he has displayed.
The room itself doesn't have much on display, but rather there are note cards and there is paper about the place with kind of scribblings and to see what people have found. This is probably more like a lab than a gallery.
Okay.
This is where things are being discerned rather than displayed. The walls themselves are bare stone, so things aren't on display in there. I will draw in an exit because there is stairs here.
Can I attempt to discern the puzzle?
This one here on the table? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a roll.
What am I rolling here?
So it is an intellect task. As I say, if you have any training in identifying, for example, the Numenera.
Unless I can intimidate it into solving itself.
No. As I say, from what you can see, they appear to be just blocks of sandstone. That's what I'll give you for free.
GM. Is what I rolled.
That is a 1, I think. Yeah, if you hover over it, it's a 1.
Oh yes. Okay. I rolled a 1.
That's fine. And actually, yeah, you kind of go to touch a piece, and Droflash looks over to you. I wouldn't do that if I were you.
And obviously, in absolute slapstick comedy value, I'll be like, "Well, what do you know?" and touch it anyway.
It rocks back and forth. Nothing actually happens. It's fine.
See, what does he know? Coming in here, picking up the largest stone, can overcompensate for something.
No, that's fine. You can see that there are markings on them, but beyond that, there's kind of, as I say, there's no commonality to them. They aren't written in a language that you recognize, Sam, and you can't easily see a way that they would fit together. Even there certainly isn't any kind of mounting system or any kind of common, you couldn't put them all on a pole or anything like that. They might not even fit together. They are irregularly shaped in a way that they might not even fit together if you just put them together, except for the fact that their sizing is staggered in a way that there probably aren't like missing pieces. That they go from one end, which is the largest, to a point.
Well, I guess I'll put my spectacles on and try and look like I know what I'm doing while looking at Droflash to see if he gives away anything he knows through his actions.
He is walking around and kind of looking at them scrutably. Give me, and you can all give me rolls if you'd like to try and discern what he's looking at in particular, or try and kind of, see if you can learn anything from him. Again, are you skilled in this in any way?
No. 4.
So hang on, are we a bunch of Numenera hunters that are fucking retards? Do any of us know anything about Numenera?
We don't have anyone who is skilled in salvaging or crafting Numenera.
So you are travelers and discoverers.
I'm skilled in salvaging
so
them, but in crafting and understanding them, I have no idea.
Gav,
I-
I believe you said that your field of study was the peoples of the Steadfast.
Oh yeah. No, mine's more kind of the religions and the geography of the land, and
Yeah.
reading about like the peoples and stuff. But like, I've no charm, I've no persuasion, I've no etiquette.
It's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
14.
14 is not quite enough on this because that's fine. You don't have any skills on that, do you?
Not in awareness, no. or
Yeah, no, that's
perception.
fine. As I say, he's looking at them, but you can't quite get a read on what he thinks or what he's doing. He's got this kind of smug grin. And after a second, you hear Marceau's voice from up on the plinth, and again it comes through very clearly, although he doesn't appear to be speaking very loud. He says, "And so, my applicant, have you been able to discern anything from this mystery that Monsieur Trofash has uncovered?"
No, can't say that I have.
No.
Do you know what they are? I'll ask Marceau.
Alas, I do not, and that is why, to cut the long story short, you are here. Not for the discernment, but perhaps another task, as Monsieur Troflash also has not been able to identify this specific naturement
I'll let out
as
an
you say.
audible ha as he says that.
Well, Mr. Droflash, did you collect these yourself?
Well, they were uncovered by some teammates of mine, some way to the north. From what we discern was a tomb of an ancestor of our gracious host, Monsieur Marceau. I brought them to him, of course, naturally, and I ascertained from the manner in which they were displayed and fitted in the tomb that they were an item of great value and great effect. But as to whether this can be harnessed or not, we have yet to decide.
What is displayed? The way they are displayed here is the same as they were. You found them displayed in the tomb.
The order in which and he looks a little sheepish here, like he's not quite giving something away, but he says the order in which they were stored and mounted is the same, yes. But this alludes to the point. Monsieur Marceau here has a contact somewhere to the south, and well, he was looking for a group of experienced travelers who may be willing to assist in transporting these here artifacts to an associate to the south in Ion, who may well be an expert in his family history and the ancestral tongues of his people. And you hear the voice from the kind of pink rug mat here, the shag pile of intestine that says, "Yes, it is true. My own secrets are lost to me, but we do have our own secret keepers to the south in Iron. It is, to my shame, past my own reaches, but I believe that you would be honorable people to capture and transport this artifact. Truly, you came highly recommended by Monsieur Troflash that it would be suitable to your skills and station."
We're more than capable.
Yes.
Now that he's brought up the fact that they were found in a tomb, I'm going to go up and take a look at them and see if there's any religious connotations to them.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, give me a roll.
Okay, so I'm trained in religions.
Yep.
And is it based off intellect?
It's an intellect roll, yeah, absolutely.
There's are these D20? What are these?
Weird
It
dice.
should be D20. Yeah.
If you hover over it, it will say what the number is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
mine
so
doesn't
that's-
seem to be working.
Because a 4 is 14.
Yeah,
it
and a
appears.
3 is 9. This die goes instead of 1 to 20, it's 1 to 6. Yeah, okay. So it says 9. Oh, my intellect is 9.
Yeah. So you've rolled a 9. Well, are you applying effort or anything like that?
Is it just? Do I need an ability in order to allow me to apply effort?
You can always apply effort when you're rolling, and tell me as and when you roll, because that will lower the difficulty by 1 as well. So you can have an ability and you can apply effort. And so, for example, if you needed to roll,
But I
in fact-
should have told you before rolling it, correct?
yeah, probably. And in fact, I'll tell you guys, I've set a difficulty of 8 for this, meaning you'd need a 24 to kind of work out what it is if you were just rolling. And now by applying a level of effort, that would bring it down to 21, and being trained in it would bring it down to 18 to work out what it is. And that's, you needed to have both of those things really to, or some kind of specialization for it to be possible for you to work out
Or
what this
to
was.
apply 2 points of effort.
Yeah, if you had
would drop it
an effort
6
skill
levels.
of at this level you won't even have you won't have an effort score of 2. Oh, so you can't apply 2
Oh,
levels
yes,
of effort to
I see
anything.
it. Yeah.
You see in the top
Okay.
right of your
Yeah,
sheet.
I do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I can't. Wouldn't have. Doesn't mean anything to me.
No, it's fine. As I say, there are kind of markings on it that may be some kind of archaic language. They're not. It's not too heavily weathered, but the stone is quite dry. Like it's been kept in a kind of dry environment. It is a similar color to the stone that is making up the rest of the house, including the walls of this laboratory, so to speak.
Did they say it was from a family tomb?
He said it was from a tomb which was linked to one of Marceau's ancestors. So
Interesting.
not necessarily a direct ancestor, but someone also connected to the same.
Yeah,
kind
not
of
like his
tribal group.
dad. Somebody
Yeah.
in the Lucer family.
Yeah, and the way that they're talking about it is, it might as well be written in some kind of Celtic script or something. For us, it is a lost language, so to speak.
Okay.
I will pay you, of course. You shall receive 150 shins each now, and then 350 upon the return avec receipt. And he produces from somewhere in the cushion a kind of document to hold up.
I'll go over and take it and give it a scan.
You can see that this is effectively a statement of receipt with an area to be signed or sealed by whomever it's delivered to.
Very good. I'll take it and put it into one of the folds of my cloak thing.
And now Droflash kind of puts his hands on the table and clears his throat and says, "The plan is to accompany me from Marceau's stables on the southern reaches of town. We'll leave at dawn tomorrow and head to Iron by the main road through the great hills."
Oh, Mr. Droflash, I know the way. I've taken it many times before. Do we really need a guide?
No, well, this is my discovery. It would be appropriate for me to accompany the artifact, would it not? Are you trying to persuade him not to go, Gav?
No, I'm trying to lower his self-esteem to make Judas feel a bit better.
Okay, fine. Yeah,
I'm
good.
already feeling fairly good from the comments from earlier.
Yeah, but I know you're racked with self-doubt and
Yeah,
a
obviously.
low self-esteem. So I'm just trying to help you.
I will let
might-
you guys know. This is 500 shins for what is effectively a delivery job. Is pretty well paid. It's pretty damn well paid.
Yeah, and I am
Suspiciously so.
pretty suspicious the way he said it. It's fitting for one of your station, and then they decide to pay us so much, and also the fact that I don't understand why he's coming. But okay, yeah, I'm happy to
I'll just
not
kill him.
voice any of that.
I
And
mean, I would prefer he didn't come with us, but what can I
Again,
say?
you can try and persuade if you'd like.
I'm going to try and persuade the Frenchman that we're more than capable, the three of us, and we have quite
Okay.
the reputation.
You can give me an intellect roll.
I have persuasion as trained,
You trained in persuasion. Cool. Yeah, thank you.
and I'll
Have a
quote.
difficulty for this. Yeah.
I rolled a 9.
Marceau kind of smiles and said, "I'm certain of your capabilities to travel. I would not be bringing you into the fold if this were anything else, but it is only natural for Monsieur Doctor Flash to accompany his find, is it not?"
I suppose the more of us that travel, the safer Mr. Drofresh will feel. It's and it'll make the journey shorter.
For you, maybe.
Time flies when you're having fun. Wait.
Well,
Droflash kind of chuckles to himself and says, "Yes, yeah, no, we all have ways of making things pass quickly."
Yes. Okay, fine.
In any case, the ride is nothing when you've done it so many times. I'm sure we'll face no hazards and keep a low profile as we go, will we not?
Under my breath, I'll say careful to trip on that chiseled jawline of yours.
Maso doesn't hear you, Sam, but he says, hears Droflash says, "Yes, it is important that you keep the low profile. I would not want to word of my treasure or that it is transport to fall into the ears of my enemy."
well, that I'll kind of smack my fist into my palm. That we can deal with in short order.
Absolutely.
Nothing bad will happen to Mr. Droflash or his find.
Then my investment is worthwhile, I think.
Okay.
Well,
How are we going to ship these then?
As I say, my staff will transport them to the stable on the south of Royala in during the night, and you will reconvene at dawn tomorrow.
Very good.
And Droflash is kind of going to say, well, fellas, I think you have your instructions. I'll see you all upon the morrow, upon the dawn. I have a little last something to discuss here with Mr. Marceau, and I trust we don't need to show you the way out.
Wow.
Despite him saying that, one of the people who've been kind of brushing other bits of stone and kind of jotting down odd notes on one of the other tables kind of stands upright. This is again quite a young woman. She has her hair pulled back, and again she's wearing simple black clothes with a white shirt underneath. And she walks towards the stairs in the other part of the room, as you know, with a similar manner to the young boy who showed you in. She's walking slow enough you could quite easily catch her up if you needed to.
yeah, no, I'll follow out. There's nothing else for me here.
I know when we're not wanted anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. We can leave.
The plain and kind of as again kind of slightly sand colored stone of the lab is more or less matched as you first step into the hallway, and then the kind of evening glow that goes from yellow into purple like a bruise in reverse quite quickly. It kind of follows with the wallpaper, and the shifting of the colors ever so subtly in a way that you don't really realize it's happening until you know that it's happened. Continues as you walk along there. It's not a very long hallway, and you're back at the door within a minute. There are other rooms, but there's no indication really of what's going on in them. No sounds kind of come through. and then you're back out into the morning light onto the sand, and the gate ahead of you is open into the more dusty, more muddy Morning Orilla Road.
Well, gentlemen, that seems like I'm being paid for something I would have done for free. I kind of rub my hands together. Unless you've anything to do, I'm going to go find some more breakfast.
As you get out into the road, the door opens behind you. You hear Droflash stepping out, kind of whistling to himself. And he steps straight past you in the street, doesn't really say anything, and kind of wanders down the road with a kind of lively step.
Well, he's not a very nice man, is he?
Scumbag.
Don't get me started.
Awfully rude. Why is he so important anyway? What's he got that we don't?
Look, I would believe if he is a finder of treasures.
Yeah.
Or a plunderer of tombs, as it seems to be in this case.
Well, that's just not right. Those pieces belong in a museum, damn it.
The amount of times he's turned up, foiled my plans, he wouldn't even know.
Were you going to walk back into town, Gav? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to wander into town. I'm going to stop at, like, I've got 5 shins to my name. Soon I will have 500. So I'm going to
no, you have 155.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
yeah,
we were given some money. So I'm
yes,
going to go.
I'll give you 150 each now, and I'll retrofit that as having been given to you by the servant in the house.
115.
150.
150. I've already added it.
Yeah, 150.
So I'm going to go off and, like, spend one here, get a few, random bits of spiced meat on a stick, and stop at the next stall and get a bit more, and stop for a drink, and kind of spend the day wandering around town like that.
Well,
I don't know exactly how much 1 shin gets you, but I'm going to eat 5 shins worth of food.
I'm going to go and get my uniform washed, pressed, and looking spick and span, I think.
I'll probably have a couple of beers. Spend, I don't know, 3 shins on some beer. Sit around.
Like, is a shin a pound, or is a shin like a guinea back in the day in England, where it's actually more money than anyone has seen? Because I do remember seeing, like, an item list at some point where things like, a spear was 3 or 4 shins, but a fucking cannon or something was, 20, or some sort of high, not high tech, but
yes. So if I give you an example of something like a leather jacket, is 3 shins, but a micro mesh armored cloth is 50.
Okay, so you're talking for, like, dinner, opposed to just a snack. You'd get a whole dinner for the shin in a cheaper place.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
Although it's basically we can break it into halves and quarters if we really want to, or I don't know.
We'll just tip
everything.
Tip generously.
Yeah, that's how most.
You buy everything in bulk.
Role-playing groups do it.
Because we've only got the 1 unit of currency in the whole rulebook, so.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, it's been a while since I've been in Orilla, so I think, just wander around town for the early morning anyway. Unless anyone's got anything they need to do.
No.
The road to Ayan, what do I know about it?
So it is mostly it is rural. There are odd, like, little townships, little homesteads, but as I say, it is mostly rural and kind of farmland. with that sort of thing. It's
Roaming
fairly well
banditry?
traveled. Well, it's safe in the sense that it's well populated and people wouldn't go that way if it weren't the safest way to go. That's not to say it's entirely safe. That's not to say it's patrolled or maintained. Again, remember that Glaive doesn't have an organized militia. It doesn't have an organized government really to protect people in general. And so where one township might be utterly safe, another township might attack you for having been in the other one. So the road is broadly speaking safe, and if you look like travelers, you'll be treated like travelers and allowed to travel. Principally, there are, and again, it's not really visible on this map, but there are fairly large hills towards the southern area of it, where the kind of the grassland and the farmland starts to build up. And starts as kind of more risen terrain and doesn't quite become mountainous in the way that if we bring up our map of the Steadfast.
And it's not like, for instance, is there an inn every day's worth of travel? Is it that type of road that's
Yeah,
being
reliably,
used?
yes, because it's well traveled. Yeah.
Yeah.
Traveling that way will probably not take you even at a slow pace. It's only, kind of 4 days on the road. It's a well trodden road and there will be people around. That's the main road. Should you choose to go another way, there are ways around that you can add 2 or 3 days to it, but maybe bring less attention or encounter fewer people. It's not like, I mean, over here there are major mountains in the Steadfast, and there are kind of low hills here, there, and everywhere. And although an area like you have here in between Pytheron Empire and Anquan, these are still going to be low mountains. You can have they're pretty just more difficult to pass hills in the south of Glaive, and it means that you do have to stick to the roads rather than being able to cross open country, because things suddenly become in certain places a bit too steep or a bit too sheer or a bit too kind of windy. You might find yourself in a corrie or on the edge of a cliff if you don't follow the road.
Well, I guess I'll spend some time preparing and getting my maps in order and studying the various villages that we might go through and what their, I know I'd probably know it already, but what their customs and laws are like.
Sure.
Maybe go to the library.
Yeah, there'll be a library. There are libraries in town.
Go to the library and shush people for a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You are heading the same way into town. You'll notice that you're following, and you're only a couple of moments behind, but you are kind of keeping pace with Droflash. And
Does he look
we'll
like
get
he's
off.
behaving himself? He's not doing anything.
He is, but it's when you start getting back past the areas that have more shops, and he carries on going in the area, towards the narrower, the shadier parts of town, a bit like where you stayed the night before. And that will strike you a little bit, as though he's moving as though he's got purpose but not urgency. He knows where he's going, but he's not in any rush to get there.
Am I vindictive enough to follow him?
I'm not sneaky enough to follow him, I know that for sure.
Yes, me neither, definitely. But
well, the town is busy enough, and as I say, basically everybody is moving in a way that kind of implies that they've got somewhere to be and somewhere to go. In which case, you're not going to have too much difficulty following him, but you're also not going to stand out especially. You're certainly never going to be the only people on the street, or very rarely.
I think we're all walking that way on our very different quests.
So far. But as I say, you're kind of still all in an area that what am I trying to
Arnold,
say?
do you think he's up to no good?
Well, he could be working
When is
for
he
someone
up to
else.
good?
Or if
Is
he's
my
working
answer.
for someone else to double cross this guy. He can't just be all about getting this stuff for the benefit of Mr. Marceau. Maybe
he wants it for himself.
Getting it for himself, yeah.
I think. Or the highest bidder.
Yeah, that's what I reckon.
Like I say, he always seems to turn up when you least expect him.
So maybe we should get it. get the stuff and give it to the highest bidder.
Ooh,
Well, we've already agreed.
I wouldn't
to
know about
deliver.
that.
How do we know if 500 gold each is the highest price we get for this stuff?
Wow, I do say a gentleman's agreement is a gentleman's agreement.
Well, okay.
Well, see,
Well, we could.
I think we could learn a lot traveling with Mr. Droflash for a few days anyway, and get the measure of the man. Of
Indeed.
course, we might be able to gain the measure of the man today.
I'm going to follow him. Just out of my own
You're gonna follow
petty,
him, yeah?
out of my petty grievances, I'm going to follow him.
Well, we'll meet you by the spire over there, and I'll point to a spire above the skyline whenever you're
Okay.
finished.
That is a religious site that you can see there,
Sorry,
and it
have
has
we-
a kind of amber light, kind of glistening from the spire that you will associate with the amber papacy and the kind of dominant religion in terms of studying old technology and things in the Steadfast.
You said it was where he is heading,
Mhm.
in loose terms, is towards where we stayed last night.
Into that area of town, which is in itself a bit shadier.
Okay, well, my cover story will be that I've left something where I stayed last night. There we go.
Sure, yeah. Gavin, Gex, are you going to not go that way, and you're going to go and get some food and some swag?
Sure.
I
Do you say
I
we
think
are
so, yeah.
we are taking his artifacts to Ain, or we're collecting
Found them.
You are carting them, and he's going to go with you. So you're
Right.
accompanying
So
him
we,
and the artifacts.
so we. I was thinking we could have an opportunity to get someone to look at them, maybe, and just see if someone else can figure out what they are, like a scholar of the Numenera or
Yeah.
something. But I don't know if we get the opportunity if goddamn Droflash is there.
Yeah, and they're not in our hands yet,
No.
so we can't. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
on the
you've
way.
been told that you will meet them at the stable, and you know where the stable is in the southern reach of town. At dawn the next day.
Okay, I'm going to follow this arrogant bastard.
You're going to follow him.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll go with Gavin Gex for the first time for the time being.
Yep.
Are you all going to go and buy some nice food?
I'll buy some food and some beers.
I wouldn't say nice food. I'm just going to sample the food the locals would be having. So, like
Sure, yeah.
the street food and the vendors and things like that. I'll happily eat anything and everything they're selling.
Well, you can go in a similar kind of direction then. I mean, if it's the poorer and busier part of town that you want to be heading towards
Oh, well,
for the time being. But
yeah, I'll be following my nose anyway.
yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. It's just follow your nose there, and before too long, you can find a fairly actually quite crowded market with things going on, with people yelling, with things still being set up. Although most things have been open for an hour or so already, with the time that your meeting took. Places that are layering up kind of spiced juices and fruits and exciting and intricate looking meat dishes and great calabashes of grains and sauce kind of being brewed up, although the fires are only just being lit for that, and you're a little early for lunch proper, but yeah, you can kind of you can see things being brought together, and you can see these are the kinds of vendors that will sell and make one thing only, and they consequently they do it very well. The soups are just starting to bubble. The grains are just starting to cook and to boil, but if you can circle around and you can get a look at everything and anything. Does Brother Elias have a particular taste that you would like to
Well,
quench or
I'm
cater to?
thinking just the bakers will probably be have started early,
An excellent choice, yeah.
so I'll just get like a big wheel of bread, and then I'll kind of be sitting picking at that, waiting for some soup to finish cooking.
Yeah, easily accounted for. Yeah, absolutely. And you can find this, and this is this being very fresh. You can find quite a nice bread. Again, the baker is speaking to you in with a voice that you don't quite recognize, and the dough itself, the crust shows twisting and laceration in a way that you haven't quite seen before, and yet it seems you're looking at it and it seems obvious. As you know, you're looking at it, you get this sense of, why didn't I think of that? You know, he's taken things and kind of knotted them in a way that seems to take great skill, and yet seems consequently, very pleasing to look at. The bread itself is, as I say, it is light. It is still very slightly warm, and therefore delicious.
Yes, that sounds right up my alley. Something simple but just well made.
Gex, are you partaking?
Sure. And I'll sample whatever the local equivalent of beer is.
Okay, yeah. I mean, again, it's fairly early in the day, but you can see brews and brewers setting things up. You can see a bar setting things up. They're not kind of ready to serve for a lot of these places, but there are people in the stalls, and then there are people with bottles, kind of taking things out of their baskets and out of their satchels and their kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Their bags and their barrows, and setting them up on tables.
Sure.
But you can come across a woman who has a stall covered in bottles that she's setting up, and she says to you, "Good morning, sunshine."
Well, darling, what's the local tipple around here then?
Local tipple, eh? And interestingly, her lips are matching what she's saying. She is speaking the truth, the language, to you to match up with that. Well,
Nice.
we've a few of these that are made a few streets over. Let's put my hand on. And she reaches over and she kind of taps the cork in one bottle and says, "This is a recipe my grandmother developed. Sure to put some bubbles in your blood. And yeah, it's still made by the family. As are 2 or 3 of these." And she points to the other side of the table, and those are dark, kind of the kind of bottle that people would put red wine in, where they're dark green with a kind of being a dark green, they also have a dark drink inside that you can't quite discern the color of, but again, they're corked. Maybe not for this time in the morning. Are you having a special occasion?
This time in the morning.
Oh, well then, if it's something light and gentle we're looking for. And she'll reach up with for a clear bottle that has a kind of bready coloured drink inside. And again, this one is corked, but it's a bit smaller. And has a small knot of string around the neck, as though you could recork it, and you could keep the cork safe.
Very well. I'll take one of those, please.
Lovely choice, a lovely choice. These are made by my cousin's friend. His name is John.
Oh, see.
We always have them. I get these every day from him. He's a wonderful brewer, but he's deathly afraid of birdsong, and as a result, cannot leave his home.
It's a terrible affliction.
Indeed, truly.
Yeah, I'll take a bottle of that.
And you can find where Gav is sat and pop the cork.
Yeah, and sit and have a snack and a drink.
It's not unlike beer, what you've got there. It's kind of a little bit sour, and I mean sour, not like it's gone bad, but a little bit citric.
Like a sour beer.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah. As I say, quite bubbly, and not fizzy, but bubbly in a way that gets up in your nose and kind of tickles to drink. Makes you say ooh, and pull your cheeks in a bit tight, like
Yeah.
as I say, yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. Not sure if bubbles in the blood sounds healthy, but we'll go with it.
Sam, you are heading through, and Droflash is now that he's in among the narrower streets. He's moving a little bit quicker, and he's turning his head a bit more. He hasn't seen you yet, and doesn't appear to be looking behind him, but he is looking high. Can I get a perception roll from you as well?
Yeah.
So it'll be an intellect roll, and then yep.
can I as well kind of like, I know I'm not going to be able to go out of phase and go invisible, but can I make myself particularly more translucent? And that's a 19.
Sure, yeah, a 19 for the perception, and that's going to be great and easy. You can see at this point the buildings are designed so that people can walk at multiple levels. They have long balconies and also kind of roof terraces that people would move around on. Although you're not seeing very many people moving up there, there are people sat around looking down into the street.
Any of them standing out as particularly?
So the nature of Orilla is that people look diverse but also factionalized, and so you see several times, you see multiple multiples of people who are dressed similarly in the same way that the people at Marceau's palace or Marceau's compound were dressed in uniforms. You'll see lots of other people that look as though they are dressed in a particular traditional clothing or a particular uniform. As a result, no one appears to be noticing him or you yet.
Well, I will be actively aware of where he's looking then, I guess, and be doing the same from a distance.
Give me 2 seconds.
And when I say going slightly translucent, I want to make an effort to have something behind me, so I'm obscured, if you know what I mean. If he was to turn around and look straight at me, there might be something really dark behind me, so he can't make me out.
Yeah, sure. So actually what you can do there is, as I say, between the buildings there are kind of service ways and alleys and things kind of cross together and weave together, and you can make sure that you're staying in areas that aren't getting direct sunlight. It's early enough in the day still that only half of the street has sun, and those places that don't have it yet are still out of, they haven't had it at all.
Yes. I would assume as well, if he looks straight at me, he'd be able to work out that someone's there, but maybe not discern the identity straight away.
Yeah, and maybe not spot you right away. So you'd have to make he wouldn't make a roll, but you'd get to make a roll to be properly hidden or to be unidentified. Give me 2 seconds because I'm looking for something in particular here.
Just running for a wee.
Yes.
That doesn't work. Okay.
What is this shifty bastard up to?
Give me 2 moments, sorry. I've written down a page reference that I want for this and have forgotten how to scroll. So Droflash is moving, and as I say, he's moving a bit quicker. He's kind of skipping about a little bit, and then more or less suddenly he turns off the main street and down into an alley that would appear to run between two more established shops. And so for the area, it's wider than just one person's way, but it's an area that people would carry boxes down or make deliveries and things coming in and out of. This isn't as well attended, especially this time of the day when early morning deliveries will have been made already and end of the day kind of dispatches and collections aren't being made either. And so this is comparatively empty.
I've returned.
Relatively shifty as well.
He's heading down here, and you can make your perception roll one more time, if you would.
Here we go. Yellow. 19.
Nice.
19's great. Yeah, cool. Okay, and so you can see at the moment one other person stood in this alleyway. I'm going to get you to make me a speed roll to do with being hidden, please.
So I had my minor and major effects. How do they work again?
So minor and major effects basically work along the lines. If you've rolled a 19, so you'll get a minor effect there. You can say, "And I'd like this to happen."
Oh, I see. So not in the awareness.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you I don't know. Do you have a particular thing in mind that you'd like to have
Well, I
these
just
results out?
written in my notes minor effects. While out of phase, you also have an asset to your speed defense tasks. I don't know. It's just things
So
I've written down.
yeah, I'll kind of use them as suggestions rather than how they have to be, because
Yes.
it's not even like, I know with Gav's D&D game we had a table for crit effects, but I think in this case it's more contextual, and so I'm happy to use context and creativity to resolve stuff like that. I will give you an asset on being hidden, because you talked about kind of putting effort into it and choosing slightly shadier spots to stand in and things like that.
Yep, that was a 15.
15's plenty good at this stage, and is also good for the other guy. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that's fine. So yeah, you have Droflash kind of stepping down the alley, and another man, and this man is dressed in a kind of olive brown set of leathers. He is armed. He has a sword on his hip, and beyond that, kind of has long, shoulder length dark hair. These olive leathers are a color that you've seen around, and so you will have seen people, as I say, we were looking at rooftops and kind of terraces and things like that, and there were other people around dressed in this exact same manner. So this is a particular tribal dress. Give me one more intellect roll, and this will be with regards to learning about it, seeing if you can work out specifically what tribe he might relate to. So I don't know if you have any particular skills in that.
Well, other than laws, rules, and regulations of the land.
Not quite. No, I know. Yeah, it's not like, this is more of an anthropology role than a legality sort of thing.
9.
9's not quite enough, but that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's going to be okay. And you can. Your perception roll was pretty good. So Droflash is approaching this guy with the same kind of saunter he's had all along. He is expecting this fella to be there, and is still keeping his kind of cocky facade up. You're keeping your distance a little bit, the shady spot that you wanted to stay in, and so you can hear that he's talking, and you can see that this other fella looks stern. But he, but has a level of recognition. Again, isn't surprised and isn't put off at all by his bravado. They are talking briefly. You can't quite hear what's being said. Again, as I say, the town is noisy, and even though they're in an alley where there are the only two people, the road that you're standing at the edge of there is occupied and busy, and you're standing outside what is a kind of a busy shop that's selling kind of woven goods and clothing.
Can I take note of the person who I'm looking at, who isn't Droflash? Sorry. Can I take note of like particular markings or colours of drab or whatever, just as a memory point?
Sure. So he has quite a narrow nose. As I say, he's got this kind of olivey brown leather that he's wearing. Do you want a note card?
It's okay. I'll write it in somewhere. Maybe a note card would be good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure I've got them somewhere.
Use the notebook, Sam. That's what I've been using for notes for this game.
Yeah. Got it. I'm yellow. Cool. So what were you saying, Jed?
He is wearing kind of olivey brown, which is what you kind of know is one of the particular ethnic dresses that these people wear. He has quite a narrow nose, and he has shoulder-length, dark, straight hair. He has a straight longsword on his hip, but it isn't drawn.
And what are we going to call this little man?
Alley man.
The man in olive. Okay. Cool.
Droflash is kind of leaning closer and closer. He's not stepping too close to this guy, but he's kind of leaning in as though he's trying to coax the man in olive, into into kind of listening to him or trying to work something, kind of trying to make a deal, trying to get a little bit more ore from him, maybe something like that. He's kind of gesturing in a way that's trying to broach and open up more of the deal. The other fella is standing solid. He's not being persuaded here. He's not changing his expression, especially at all. And then after a second, give me 2 seconds, because what I can do here is I can do this for fun. So Sam, I want you to give one of one of these to somebody else, please.
What to?
I should have given you two. Hang on.
I'm over here.
So have I dealt things into your hand over here? I'll just give them to you over there.
Yeah, I don't know. Where's my hand? I don't understand.
Bottom of the
Sorry.
screen.
Yeah, they're over here now.
Okay. You
And
want me to
can
give them
one
to
of them,
other
give one of them
people?
to somebody else. This is a GM intrusion.
Ooh.
Here you go, Gav. And what do I
So-
do with the other one?
Keep it. It's fine. It's yours, and you give them one to Gav. Gav, you can keep that. XP. I'll go over things you can spend XP on later on in the session if you'd like. But basically,
Great game.
from the doors either side of the alleyway, and then from the ceiling, not from the ceiling, but from windows higher up above them, these doors open, and 4 other identically dressed men with dark hair burst out into the alleyway. They have surrounded Droflash.
4 more men join the party. Sorry, I'm just writing it all down. I'm
Yeah,
keeping
it's
a
fine.
log like
Yeah.
an investigator.
Absolutely. And they move upon him. I'm not expecting you to act in any special way, but would you like to roll initiative? Just because we'll turn base this slightly.
Am I rolling this on? Is it just a flat? 14.
Yeah, it's flat unless you've got an asset or anything in it.
No.
14's
14.
fine. So, Droflash turns. He is not armed, but he is turning and going to try and push past the guy in front of him to bolt for the other end of the alleyway.
So away from me.
Yeah, he's going to try and bolt and push back. He has seen all 4 and now 5 of these men, and he's going to try and push past. However, he kind of scuffles and is, slowed by the man in front of him. It would be your turn if you'd like to act.
Is there some cover between me and?
There are plenty of boxes. There are lots of wooden boxes and crates.
Yeah, I'll kind of just duck down behind a crate and ready a crossbow and just watch.
Okay, sure, yeah. The man in olive whom he was talking to has grabbed Droflash by the arm.
Hmm.
Are they shouting? Can I hear this now?
And almost immediately, all 4 of the others they aren't speaking. There is kind of yelling, but not.
Yeah, not audible
Yeah,
language.
basically, Droflash is saying, "Hey, let me go, and the others are not speaking at all. The 4 of the 2 other. What am I trying to say? The others from the ground level also approach him and grab his arms. The 2 above are going to stay up on their balconies and kind of track along, and they escort him, drag him down the alleyway towards there. I'm going to give you 1 more turn before they're out of view if you'd like to do anything.
No, I would not. There's nothing I can do against this many people.
Yeah, they have. They are dragging Droflash out of sight and into the a street beyond.
And there's 2 above, so I can't follow without them seeing me.
The 2 that are on the balconies are following along. As I say, the balconies are quite well established, and although they're having to kind of climb over a little fence and things like that, they are a story above, but walking along the street level, at least as far as the corner at the end of the alleyway.
Okay. Yeah, so I assume at the other end of the alleyway they're going to turn and then disappear from sight. Is
Give
it
me one
possi-
more perception roll.
Is it possible to follow at distance without getting spotted by said dudes? 6.
You can try, and you can see them go past the end of the alleyway, and you can head on down there if you'd like.
Try.
So the fellas up on the balconies don't appear to spot you. The one on the what would be the right hand side of the alley has turned. They've both kind of turned corners. You see the group on ground level turn right as they get to the end of the alleyway, and as you reach the end there, you find that you come out into another busy street with a fair bit lower perception roll there. You can't quite track where they've gotten to. The road is busy enough. These guys are wearing, between them, they've got dirty khakis and brown olive. This kind of starts to blend in to the crowd, which are dressed in kind of simple earthen clothes, that sort of thing. Again, you can see a lot of the crowd is not quite peasantry, but these are people who are new to the city, sometimes still wearing farming clothes, sometimes still wearing travelers' clothes, that sort of thing. And people, dressed in leather, people dressed in khaki, it isn't all too uncommon. You can't hear Drawflashes yell over the din of the street. As I say, all the noise, it is this kind of paradoxical effect where there's so many clear voices coming through that it's difficult to
the
pick
one you
out
want.
the one you want, exactly.
Yeah.
And although if you really tuned it in, you could probably hear him trying to work out where he is going to be impossible there.
Is there anywhere I can get high and get an advantage look?
So you could go into a building and you could try and find your way up a layer.
I'll try. I'll give it one try, like one
Yeah.
decent try
So
before.
so again, there are shops, there are residential buildings, there are restaurants, there are all kinds of things nearby here.
Yeah. There's no I can jump up on top of a stall or something, or some pile of box and look over people's heads.
So having come out of the alleyway, there are stalls and things like that, but again, they're attended. Things are covered with canvas.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the canvas probably isn't going to support even your partially out of phase weight.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Does it affect that your focus?
I don't think so.
I don't know that it affects your. Yeah, it's just you kind of passing through solid objects, which is the opposite of what you want here.
Yes. It's controllable though, so I guess I'd go and try and find a way up to a balcony, maybe, as if there's one that's the path of least resistance.
Yeah, easy to do. You can get into an open tenement building and up a layer, and come basically even by going up one layer of stairwell, you'll find an open window that comes out onto an open balcony.
Can I see him?
Give me. I'll tell you what. Let's take one more perception.
Last look.
Yep.
8.
You notice across the way, both to the right and to the left, you notice the men in olive that had appeared on the first floor above the alleyway. The one who was on the left-hand side of the alley came to that corner and stopped on the corner. So he basically turned the corner on the main street and has stopped there and is still kind of looking around on the ground level. He isn't looking at you. The guy on the first floor, who would have been on the right, has turned the corner and is moving on along that. But actually looking at the floor below him or near him, you can't see Drawflash or these other guys in olive in amongst the kind of bustle of the crowd.
My assumption would be they've disappeared into a building near here, if these olive guys are still around. That is what I'm going with. Whether or not that is true, I don't know.
Although being kind of native to Malay, as you said, you don't know Orilla quite well enough, I don't think, to say, yeah, this gang's territory, this is these people's territory.
It'd be my assumption that that's what they've done.
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, that's yeah.
Okay, I'll leave and go find the guys.
Okay. Gav, you've gone and found some delicious kind of some delicious soup that was brewed with it's a kind of tomatoey base, but has some spices in it that really flatten the acidic effect of the tomato and leave a kind of a kind of fruity richness to it. You know, they're quite fruity tasting tomatoes that have been used for this, and you know, it tastes quite sweet for tomato soup. Goes very well with your bread. And the bread, it appears that the crust and the shape of it is well tailored. Should you choose to dip?
Oh, definitely. Anything I haven't tasted before is top of the list. So I'll just be sitting down. We'll be wandering our way towards the temple that you
Yeah.
pointed out earlier.
The spire, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Gex, did you want to do anything else other than having your sour beer?
Oh, well, I had a snack as well. Take the edge off the sour beer, but that's about it. No,
Yeah,
I'll follow
yeah,
Gav.
yeah. You can have the same soup as Gav, and yeah, it's absolutely fine. The spire is easy enough to find, and this is very much like just about nearly every settlement in the Steadfast has some building devoted to the Amber Papacy. The capital thereof, the Vatican, so to speak, thereof is in Navarine, but is all the way up here in the Amber Monolith. But this is the faith that is dedicated to the uncovering of the Numenera, and is more or less the closest thing to a uniting body within the Steadfast. There's the common tongue, the truth, and there is the Amber Papacy, the faith that spreads throughout the continent. It's one of the things that differs them from the Beyond. You know, the areas past there where this faith has much less of a hold. People don't recognize the organized church and the way things are done. The attendants have white robes with gold trim.
Sorry, where
I
did you
think
say
that's
that
right.
was based?
They are based up at the Amber Monolith in Navarine.
Okay.
Did you guys by any chance read the story at the they wear kind of golden robes with a red trim rather than white robes with a golden trim.
Yeah.
Did you guys read the short story at the very start of the core book that concerns I can't remember what it concerns. It
The Amber
concerns
Monolith.
it. Yes, it is based. It is that is the story of the first Amber Pope, the founding of the church here.
I will read it.
Yeah, it's like the first page or so of the core book. It's quite a nice little set of flavor as to you know the way things are, and he uses ciphers and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't read it either, but yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah, and it's kind of fragments and chapters, and it's quite nice as a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking my interest in religion is probably in no way aligned with this core religion. As in me not knowing anything about Numenera or the study of technology. That's probably something that I'm not quite interested in.
Yeah.
So unless it's the effects of this religion and how they play out with the common people or the poor of the area, or if they don't at all and that's not in their remit or they're one of their tenets, then I'll probably be a practicer of some sort of more folksy religion, like something from a different area or something from a different era. I don't mind.
Yeah, they kind of when I talk about them being kind of so widespread, they kind of serve this dual purpose of being functionaries, of being luminaries in the community, but also as I say, just generally kind of dealing with knowledge in the community. They are in a way kind of closer to scientists than priests, and as a result they are folk religions, there are folk myths, there is kind of folk and localized weird that people turn to in their own way.
Yeah, I was reading
The
about
ninth world being weird in itself, and so people will simply build a religion around a particular glowing rock that whispers secrets to them on a full moon and things like that from time to time. And so I understand that that would probably be more interesting to you, the socio, although
Yeah.
you may have met people who take a similar interest in Aeon priests and the Amber Papacy. Aeon priests are the kind of practitioners, the staff. These priests here, basically all they do is study the Numenera, and they kind of get into acting as functionaries and adjudicators because of their neutrality and because of their widespreadness of their nature of their organization, de facto rather than as a core tenet of the faith and of the church.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that doesn't sound like you were saying that it's something that'd be, unless there was a particular enclave of them that.
Some
Or,
are some are more esoteric than others. Some are more civic than others and more involved in business. Your impression coming up there is that basically these guys do have a public-facing kind of center, and people are kind of queued outside with boxes and crates and these
this is an
contain
Antiques
objects.
Roadshow, isn't it? Like
A little bit, yeah. This is what's going on. Is people are having people are bringing things for them to be evaluated and for them to be authenticated and examined. If it seems obvious to suggest it, but an Aeon priest would be the person that Marceau would want to see first if he's trying to get people to work out what his object is.
If it was legally obtained, yeah.
No.
Well, sure.
Well, tell you what, I'm going to be sitting facing this church, this enclave building, and I'm going to be sitting a ways from it, though.
Across the square.
Yeah, and just kind of dipping my bread in my soup, sitting there swapping beers with the doctor, and just kind of smiling bemusely at the lost flock that are trying to solve their problems with whatever trinkets are in these boxes.
Yeah, you're away from so you're away from the busyness of the market. You're away from some of the denser streets. There are a few other shops in the square, and then there are some small but quite well decorated, quite well made up houses. The shops in the area seem to be selling. They sell maps, they sell books, they sell things of interest.
Do we need anything, Doctor, for our journey? Do you need anything for the journey?
I don't know. Well, I've got. I think I've got a something explorer pack type thing, which is what I need for exploring. I assume we're not going to. Are we going to bother with food and stuff, rations and that?
Honestly,
get them on the way.
Yeah. So the road is travelled in a way that you should be able to stay in an inn every night.
Worries there.
And there will be villages and things around.
Well, I got a pack of tools.
Having a little something isn't a bad idea, but you don't need to plan everything.
I've got a pack of tools and an explorer's pack. I'm happy. That's all I'll need for that. And we've got our weapons for self-defense. We got everything we need.
Just to change the subject. Sea Kingdom again really looks like England.
Yes.
I was just thinking I was actually looking at it and thinking that's where my character should be from, because the name Ampofo is from Ghana, so I should be from the Sea Kingdom of Ghana. It does. It looks a lot like the northern half of Westeros.
Yeah, all the same kind of thing, isn't it?
Which is yeah.
Which
I
is
think
England.
over here it looks like the Black Sea and the Red Sea melded together.
Yeah, it does.
So this
so
is
the channel's
Earth,
dried up,
but in a billion years into the future. So
that would
be
make
looking
sense.
at fucking
channels dried up, islands sunk into the sea.
Which makes no sense
somewhere else.
because I think England's lower than Ireland.
Probably.
Yeah, but we drink less than you do.
Maybe we just fucking dug ourselves off and pedalled nearer.
Drunk driving the country, that's what it was.
Yeah.
He crashed and hit France and sunk.
That could be Italy down there near Raro. What's left?
Yeah, Spain's just been nuked into oblivion.
They deserve it.
Probably.
Yeah, bloody Spanish.
Actually, that where you where you said was England could be Norway. Whole thing could have
Oh, it
rotated.
could be Denmark,
Mm.
actually. Denmark's the one that sticks up, isn't it? Sticks up
Yeah.
and then Norway
Yeah.
hangs down. Something like that. Whatever.
Sam Arnold is able to find his way to the spire.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
that
we'll pick them up and kind of continue the conversation of, is there anything we need? Well, obviously a few bottles of that beer and some food.
Yes, probably.
Just to,
I think I've got a taste for the sours.
walking for 5 to 6 days is,
I'll everything that transpired in my little thing, I'll tell them.
Oh,
I'm going to do one more thing, and Gav, I'm going to clarify the contract that you were given earlier, the notice of receipt. This specified it was a receipt for the delivery of the artifacts and was a brief description thereof, including the number of. I think there is. Give me 2 seconds. There are 8 parts of eight parts of stone there, and
Okay.
it was for each of those.
yeah,
And so
I'll probably
that
agree
is
with
what you are being paid for, is for the delivery of those.
And I've seen no mention of Mr.
Joe
Drillflesh.
Flesh.
Interesting.
Sam, you can come along and describe what happened there now, if
Yeah.
you'd like.
Well, exactly what happened that everyone heard, and
Oh.
I'd like to make an emphasis on asking Gav if he's ever met a clan or whatever that wear olive brown drab kind of
No,
ethnic dress.
Gav, would you like to
Okay.
make an intellect roll there?
I'll make an intellect roll. But I don't think so. I don't spend much time in Orleans. Oh, 19. Turns out I do, but I do happen to know.
So, Gav, from the description, particularly from the kind of the tone of the olive, from the dark hair that these people have,
Yep.
you can surmise, and actually what you know of Malay culture as well, these people are probably members of the Nalgena tribe.
Nalgena.
They are, you're not going to know anything about that, especially, but you can write that down if you want. They are effectively rivals to Marceau's clan and are likely to be envious of his kind of
Action.
Yeah.
his wealth, his position of influence.
Interesting.
I'm all for leaving that guy and just going. I don't think any of us are particularly fond of him, but
Well,
I'm
it's-
concerned that if he's captured, he'll tell them everything, and we'll be compromised in our mission to take these artifacts to Iron, and they may end up following us.
in my entirely selfish fashion, I would surmise that he was attempting to make a deal with the other party, judging by what I saw before he was bundled away.
So
He
you
was talking to them.
Could be.
you imply he knew these men?
I imply he was trying to deal something from his
There was
hand
some
gestures
kind of
and
double
whatever.
cross.
Yeah, it looked like a deal was being made and it went wrong.
It could be, but
Um,
still, we have to be slightly concerned that he could tell them we could
And
be
he-
put in danger by this.
We tell our employer.
Well,
I mean,
if he's
fuck the guy.
Yeah.
if he's such a character as to make this double deal, I would suggest that he's in it for his own skin, and therefore has already told them, and that we could indeed expect to see these brigands on the road.
Yes.
That is reasonable based on your role there, Gav. That both factors, both Marceau's clan and the Nalgena, are not confined to Orella. They are kind of free roaming, not free roaming, but
Yeah, traveling.
well
Free to
spread.
roam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I think informing well, we've already taken the contract somewhere. So if he is, I don't want to use the word bloodthirsty, but exacting, a businessman, he will hold us to it. But informing him of what happened beforehand might at least warn him away from dealing with Droflash in the future and making your job a lot easier.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you, in your inimical way, talking to Arnold here, see if you can get back in to see Marceau and inform him of what happened, and then inform him that we might be taking a slightly circuitous route.
Yes. Okay. Happily.
And we'll plan a route that runs parallel to the road, and we'll take a few extra days' rations and whatnot.
Play it safe.
It's slower, but it'll be safer.
Yeah.
Sounds
all right.
reasonable. Bearing in mind I am entirely adept at conversational skills, but I will try.
Oh yeah, geez, I forgot I was totally inept at those as well. I should be playing the character differently.
I can do persuasion and intimidation, but only when it's to the fact and logical. If it's anything to do with social interaction, I'm at a negative.
Well,
So I might be able to win here.
It's either that or you tell Marceau we have to leave now, and we go now.
Mm.
I think that's probably better. You go in there and you show him who's boss.
I can choose to succeed on any task without rolling, as long as its difficulty is no higher than level 6. So
I like that idea. Trying to leave now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we
Brings
were
a bit
going
of
to leave in
urgency
the
to
morning,
it.
but we could leave early.
Yeah.
If we leave early, we get the jump on the possible brigands. This Nalgena tribe.
Why don't you
I'm
two?
sure Marceau has no love for them.
Why don't you two secure some rations, meet us at the stables, and I'll go and convince him.
Very well.
All right.
Good plan, Arnold. I'll go off and I'm going to pick up some traveling rations.
Extra rations,
Dried and pickled things, and a good few days worth of stuff.
I'll say between that and your soup and things this morning, I'm going to take 2 shins off you.
All right. Well, I'll add 3 back on then, because I spent 5. But
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
Okay, so that's like 5 or 6. Well, tell you what, that's going to be more than that, isn't it? Because it's going to be like 4 or 5 days worth of food for 3 people.
Okay, if you're going for that, we'll go for the 5. Why not?
Just in case we have to spend the whole 5 days off the road. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, the way that there are a number of different ways you can head if you're not taking the main merchant road. Then yes, it'll be.
That's if Marceau doesn't have, like, on this piece of paper. I'll double check it. There's no times limit on this.
No,
Is there?
all it is effectively it's a receipt
That he wants stamped.
that he wants to be stamped with a delivery address on it in iron.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've picked up everything from our lodgings, so we'll head towards Marceau's manor, and we'll meet you there, Arnold.
Okay.
Sounds good. Towards the manor or towards the stables?
Well, he was saying that the stuff was only going to be delivered to the stables.
That the stuff was you were going to meet things at the stables at dawn, yeah.
Yeah, so, but he was saying that the stones are going to be packed up and delivered, possibly today, but who knows? And he did refer to them as his stables, opposed to like public stables.
Yeah, and that doesn't seem reasonable. I've given the signs of wealth and things that you saw earlier that he would own multiple buildings around town or services.
Yeah. No, I stick with the plan, Arnold. I think you inform him what we've seen. Ask him, can we leave straight away? But we'll meet you after getting our stuff. We'll meet you at his house, assuming that the stones are still there.
Right you are.
And Sam, you're heading straight there?
Yep.
That's fine. And from the part of the town that you're in, it's going to take you maybe 15 minutes to walk. It's not too far at all. With that heading back, and again, you can kind of find your way out of the more commercial areas into the residential and in amongst the wealthy. You come up on the compound, you know, from the same street as before to the same gates, and the guards are there, same as they were before. And the one that you met and spoke to before is going to kind of narrow his eyes a little as you approach, or as you come up close to him, but not say anything yet.
I'm going to say, my good sir, I have urgent news regarding this contract. I'm assuming, I know this is after the fact, but I've taken the contract off of Gav and I'm holding it.
Okay. And you've got it out.
Yeah, I need to see your master immediately.
He's gonna look over to the one next to him. So there are two on the gate. The one to the side again is going to give the nod, and the gate's going to open.
I'll do some hand gesture. Thank you.
And again, you're back in with the sand. This time, the door does not open ahead of you.
Is it unlocked?
Yeah, you can go up and open it, and it does open when you turn. And there is the same young boy in black, stood in the hallway.
Does he look surprised or nonchalant or doesn't give a shit?
His expression is pretty flat. He's looking directly at you. It's you know, as I say, it's like he was waiting, but he doesn't move when you come in, as he did before. Where before he kind of he only looked at you the once when he led you in before, whereas this time he's looking flat at you.
Please take me to your master.
His mouth opens, and it's like he doesn't even really speak, because his mouth isn't moving in a way that conveys speech, but the words you still hear are, do you have a question about your instructions?
Jesus Christ.
Again,
No,
this is a kind of you imagine almost like a doll speaking, where the mouth opens and the words are there rather than being formed in the mouth.
Yeah. No, I have urgent news. I must seek an audience with your man.
Monsieur Marceau is indisposed.
I'm going to, I don't know, stamp my foot and say, but this is of utmost urgency, and roll a persuasion if you want, or something.
Yeah, give me a roll on that. Yeah, why not?
I'm teed in this.
You are trained in this. Okay, cool.
11.
11. Yeah, 11's going to be okay. And so his eyes kind of roll back in his head. His mouth closes briefly. And you see his body kind of not relax, but kind of loosen very briefly as his knees bend slightly. His arms that were stiff kind of wave ever so slightly, as if he's been hit with a breeze. And then his eyes roll back, and he comes back to this kind of stiff kind of attendance, and then he just turns and walks on as he did before.
Okay.
And he'll walk you back to the stairs that you were at before, and he stops and he stands at the bottom of the stairs, and he'll turn back to face towards you, but isn't looking directly at you again. He's looking more back down the hallway, with its twisting and shimmering color palette.
Okay.
If you can go up the stairs and into the bedroom, and Marceau is in there. The chimes that you heard before, the kind of slight music and the slight glimmer in the air, they seem more intense. And there's a bit more noise, there's a bit more volume. The couch, you notice next to the bed, has the kind of glittering and the glimmering is thicker around that, as if it's almost as if somebody has just been throwing glitter near it or something like that. You know, there's more dust, and the tendrils, the pile, and the fronds that make up the couch are a little longer, a little looser than they were before. Marceau looks pretty much as you remember him. I mean, he's still fat and naked and being caressed by his own bed.
Okay.
And he turns his head as you're approaching, which he didn't before. He turns his head at you and says, Monsieur Judas, may I assist you for your interruption.
Okay, I'm going to flick out my notepad, and I didn't when we were doing the actual scene with what's his face, but I will relay off the event by time at him.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll be like 10:01 followed blah 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 into alleyway. 10:02 he met with man with olive brown ethnic dress. 10:03 noticed his dress was of an ethnic origin, noted this down for later investigation. Proceeded to watch them for approximately 3 minutes, having a conversation that looked like bartering. Blah 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 blah. 4 men at 10:07 came out from the alleyway, kidnapped him, and disappeared off, which is where I lost sight of them. Upon investigation with my guys, it is assumed that he was trying to make a deal with your enemies, knowing who the tribe is. I've forgotten the name of them now, Jed.
The Nalgana.
Yeah, the Nalgana. We've surmised that he was attempting to sell artifacts to them and sabotage this mission. Therefore, we request with urgency to leave immediately with the artifacts to fulfill the contract.
Marceau, his expression turns from his eyes have been kind of wide while he's been listening to you, and kind of a bit blank, a little bit wide-eyed, and his eyes narrow, and a kind of smile creeps across his face as you finish speaking, and he says, "Oh dear," like that. Really trials out the R.
Okay.
And you, Monsieur Judas, you would not seek to flip my artifact, would you?
I'm going to say, do I look like Flash to you? Sir, I may not be flashy and get all the women and have lovely hair and a chiseled jawline, but I do my job.
Get about his calves.
Yeah,
He's got excellent calf muscles.
he does have excellent calf muscles, you're right.
And your autres, they are trustworthy, aren't they?
And I will say to him, I am not trusty of people, but these two appear to have proven themselves to my standards. And trust me, my standards are not low.
Then
If you need me to persuade him at any point, I'm happy to roll for it.
Then no, say no more, Monsieur Judas. You may go and have your wish granted. And he's
Okay.
just gonna lift just very gently wave one hand, as if like even kind of doing a thing, moving at all is like, really, yeah, fine.
Right.
You know, yeah, just fucking leave. This is kind of expression.
Dismissed.
And he goes back to kind of nuzzling almost and kind of rubbing his back in the front of his chair, and the chimes in the air grow a bit louder still and high pitched and kind of a little bit like a harp, a little bit like wind chimes, you know. And it's as if you're not there suddenly. He's just kind of writhing in his own bed.
Right. Okay, so do I take them now, or do you... are they going to be provided to the stable? What do we do?
You can hear the door behind you, at the head of the stairs, and looking around, you see the young man in the black again looking directly at you for the time being.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to assume rich people just have everything done for them.
Being entirely socially inept, if it's not to the point, I'm just going to stand here awkwardly, not understanding what I'm meant to be doing.
There is Yeah, fine.
Just like looking
So-
around, like, do I just pointing at them, like, do I pick them up? Or...
Well, so they're not in the room. You're in the bedroom rather than the lab. So the tablets themselves and things aren't in the room there.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
So you've gone back up into the bedroom, which again is this. It's got this kind of hue shifting wallpaper, and it has some white marble plinth statues and decorations, some busts, that sort of thing around it. But there's not really anyone else in the room. You notice that the kind of glittering effect in the air is moving a bit quicker than it was before. Again, it's a bit thicker over the couch, but thinner than it was when you walked in. Marceau's tendrils themselves seem to be, his bed's tendrils and fronds seem to be growing a bit longer and waving a bit faster than they were. It's as though there were a breeze, except you can't feel a breeze on your skin.
Right. Okay, I'll just kind of leave towards the weird boy.
Yeah, and he's standing there, and he's just looking directly at you. He's not saying anything. And then as you approach and as you kind of start to reach the doorway, he turns and he walks as he's done before, with a bit of purpose.
I guess I follow him.
And the hallway as you walk into it is the same kind of rich pink that the fronds of the bed were. It's this kind of fuchsia color. And actually, rather than shifting and changing, this seems to intensify as you walk. So it goes through a fuchsia into a kind of almost blood red by the time you reach the front door. Although again, the change is more subtle. It's slower this time. As you come out into the courtyard, there are more of these kind of chitin covered, shelled guards, and between them they have a litter, a kind of cart that is covered by tarpaulin. It is large enough, certainly, to hold all 8 of these stone pieces.
Okay.
And they are standing in formation with, there are 8 of them, 4 of whom are holding the thing, and 4 of them are standing in formation around it.
Okay.
The gate opens, and you can see Brother Elias and Doctor Hector standing in the street outside past you.
Hello.
Oh, I guess we're ready then.
Oh, it's that big. Is there a pack animal?
So as you go to walk, the group of soldiers step out. They step out past you, and they kind of step out into the street and just start making their way along. They're walking in, a kind of synchronized march sort of thing. So they're stepping together. Their armor doesn't really rattle, and again, it seems to be quite light the way they step. You've seen other armed guards, you've seen other armed people, even walking around in Orilla today, and they walk with a shake and they walk with a step. And Marceau's guards, they leave footprints, but they're not nearly as heavy as they should be for the way that they're armored. But they are walking down the road. They're walking in a different direction, and they're walking in a way that would lead them south to the southern part of the town.
We'll yeah, fall into step.
Okay. I assume they're taking the thing with them.
And yeah, so they're carrying this this table between the 4 of them.
I'll follow on.
Let's go.
And
it doesn't take too long. It's again, it's probably only another 5 minutes or so. The area that Marceau's in, the roads are wide enough that they don't have to make room for traffic or for other people coming through, and they can kind of keep a decent pace the whole way. With that, there's room for carts coming in the other direction, or kind of steeds riding. People, and you start to approach this. It's almost like a ring of private stables. It's kind of a terrace of private stables that are in the same way that the area that he lives in is private compound after private compound with adjoining fences and things like that. This is a collection of associated stables and kind of smaller houses and areas connected with probably the same families or the same groups. And Marceau's is similarly decorated with the same kind of sandstone finish on the outside, the same kind of sandstone and brick look that the outside of his house had, and the sandstone that both the walls of the lab were made with, and these stone tablets that you are transporting.
Do we recognize what stone that is? Would I be able to tell from what region?
You can give me an intellect roll, but
can I have knowledge geography?
Yeah.
I'm trained in that.
Intellect's not great.
There's a 9. And I have an intellect of 9. And I'm trained in geography.
So your intellect as such doesn't affect the roll, but you rolled a 9.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I only have that as yes. I understand.
Yeah. So think of your intellect as a pool from which you can expend effort or take damage. So that's what the scores invoke. So you've got a lot of speed you can spend for if and when I start getting you to do physical tasks. That will be involved in that. You can say, right, well, I'm going to apply effort. And actually, Gav, you having edge in might and speed, it means you can apply a level of effort for free with those.
Cool.
So do it often.
Yeah, I'll remember that. But the 9 doesn't get me anything on the...
The 9 doesn't get you anything in and of itself unless you say, I'm going to spend... I'm going to spend a point of intellect to apply a level of effort. Does it cost you 2? I can't remember exactly now.
Oh, I can't remember shit. I'll check the book.
Yeah, it was like...
I made the mistake of control effing effort, and I've got 200 references now.
Yeah. Combat, Cypher's experience, effort.
Effort, page 21.
Applying effort. Applying effort requires spending 3 points from the stat pool appropriate to the action.
Yeah, so you'd spend 3 unless you've got... okay, so edge reduces the cost by 1. Okay, so
right.
sorry, you don't get a free level of it. You can, unless you've got an edge of 3, it reduces. So because you've got 1 speed edge, it costs you 2 points of speed to apply a level of effort rather than... sorry for saying you could just do that for free, but...
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so anyway, we don't know where it's from.
You guys got ciphers that give you a level of edge, I think, for that. So Sam did, I think.
I got a speed edge one for an hour.
And so that would mean that you'd get a reduction in the cost of speed effort by 1.
Good for like jumping on trains or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you can take that, and then it would cost you 2 speed to apply a level of effort rather than 3 speed.
So onwards with these gentlemen.
Yeah, and so they find their way to the stable, and the stable is opened. It's fairly large. There are a fair few animals kept here, and a fair few kind of carts and vehicles and kind of other things established. And there are staff that are dressed the same. There are guards that are dressed the same in this kind of black with a white shirt kind of demeanor, and also this kind of chitinous beetle shell armor. But you make your way in, and actually you are greeted by a person who isn't dressed that way. They still have black clothes, but they aren't nearly as slim as the rest of Marceau's kind of staff, and they don't have the characteristic white shirt. They just have kind of simple black clothes. Their hair is kind of unkempt, and they come over and they greet you with a grin and say, "Oh, good morning then. I wasn't expecting you all to come through so quickly, and this is early."
Yes, apologies for that, but we've got to go quick.
Well then, yeah.
You've got a pack animal for us?
Oh, we've got the cart there is ready, and we're just bringing Anine around. So let me give you the page number for Anine in the, or you can just, it's ANEEN, and that is going to be on page 231 if you want to look it up.
Fucking hell. Oh no, that's just Shirog. I was looking at the wrong thing. 231. Yeah, they're all pretty terrifying. 230. My 231 is a
Yeah.
So
Crime
not
rate.
not
Couple of
231
few
of
pages
the
up.
PDF, but the 231 of the thing, and it's like the animals, the monsters are in alphabetical order. I don't super object to you guys seeing this because
Oh yeah, I see
you
an
know
Anine. It looks
you'll
like a
notice the things
tauntaun.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. They're fairly large, and it's kind of this big sort of reptilian, sort of bird-like, but with no feathers.
Arms.
Yeah.
Right, so and we have
T-Rex
some sort of
arms.
wheeled contraption.
And
that
there is a cart that is ready to be saddled up to one of those. You will notice also quite a few Thuman around there, and a Thuman is almost like a big hound dog that you can ride on. Notably, they have more human faces than dog faces. They are known to be quite loyal steeds and quite good to have around with you. But they've given you an Anine for this.
All right. Are they? I assume if they're pack animals, they're all like they're not too difficult to take care of.
They're
You know, as
domesticated.
in they're properly Well, hopefully they're domesticated.
This is common for this. So Anine are kept. They are used precisely for pack animal work. You will often see merchants riding them, and being people on the road, you'll be familiar with working with these animals. And the one is led around by, one of the staff, one of the tribespeople, on a rein, and brought around and fitted in into the carriages. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of cradle around it. Reins is maybe the word I want to use.
The bridle.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, it already has a bridle and kind of tacking
Okay.
on it, and is fitted to the carriage. These things are quite strong, and so there is a saddle on the back of the Anine, and there are places to sit on the cart.
Can I
And
hold,
the stable master looks to you and says, "Oh, this is a good one."
can I hold my hand up to its face so it can get a good sniff of me?
Yeah, absolutely.
See how it reacts.
Yeah.
What? Ask the stable master of the hands there. What's its name?
What is this one's name? I don't think we had one for it. You're welcome to name it for the time being. They don't tend to stick around very long.
Archibald.
Very well.
Archibald it is. Anine Archibald. Okay. Well, in that case, I'll throw the pouch of food I have up on the back of the cart as well. I'll
The guards
Get
who
in.
accompanied you are loading the tablets into the back of the cart. There's space in the back that you could sleep if you wanted to, although with these tablets in there and the luggage that you have, there wouldn't be a lot of room. But you could lay down. It's big enough that you could stretch out in there, probably one of you at a time, and be okay.
Excuse me. Well, I assume we're driving this ourselves. We're not being given a driver.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no one else is kind of getting up into
Yeah, cool.
it.
Well,
The stable master is now
but-
looking at you kind of expectantly, as if
well,
he's
I got a whip, so I guess I'll take first shift driving.
And if the stable master's looking expectantly for a tip, all he's going to get is a firm, hearty handshake and a big grin.
Very good, masters.
I assume he's paid well by Marceau.
I bid ye safe travels upon the road south. I don't know where are you going? But would make no sense to leave by the south stable if you were not heading to the south.
Oh, well, that's what we want the people following us to think.
Straight north.
Very good. And at that kind of with that, he lifts his hand towards a kind of gate at the far end, and that end of the stable is opened up, and so while there's straw and things underneath you, you can see I guess the equivalent of a driveway leading out into the main road south, to get out of the city, opening up from the very end of the stable.
Onwards, Doctor.
Very well. Very
Tally
well.
ho!
I'll plant myself in the back of the cart and relax.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Yeah, and the Anine kind of feels the whip of the reins, and very obediently it knows exactly what to do. Just starts kind of plodding forwards. It's not too fast at first. It's feeling the weight of the cart. It's working out where to put its shoulders into it, but it knows what it's doing, and it just starts stepping onwards. Archibald the Anine is finding the road, and before too long, you hear a change in the pace and a change in the sound of the footstep as it stops stepping on straw and starts stepping on well-trodden, kind of hardened, sandy ground. And before you are the beginnings of the plains of Milave. As I say, this is grassland, this is farmland, this is kind of temperate plains and hills. There are forests. It's not great plain. It's not kind of desolate, but before you effectively have countryside as far as you can see now. This being the main road into the main city of Milave, you are far from alone. And although the first 100 meters or so are still on Marceau's private driveway, it isn't before long before you slot into the line of traffic that is heading in that way. I know you said about taking a slight diversion, and I'm going to say it's probably maybe a 2-hour ride in which you are effectively in a caravan between a cart that is full with these kind of weird pink animals that kind of nuzzle and grunt in amongst each other, and these have probably been bred for food. And then behind is is a man with a cart full of grain, effectively the bags of what look to be grain. And again, they're all being led by Anine. They're not quite as strong looking as yours are. I think you have genuinely been given quite a good one.
Nice.
Okay, well, our plan is probably, or I would suggest that while we're sitting here keeping an eye out for green clothed individuals,
Olives, yes.
it might be wise to discuss and change the plan from one of a circuitous route to one just of a fast route.
Yes.
Could be a good idea,
Like-
especially if those green bastards might be following us.
Well, I'm assuming taking this cart on if it's a different road, it's going to have to be Jed, I'm assuming it's going to have to be a vastly different route.
So this isn't the only way, and effectively you could take what we'd call B roads the whole way. You can take roads rather than being the main route. You could take what would be the slow bus from little village to little village, from homestead to homestead, and kind of dot it about. You're probably going to go from what I said was a 3 or 4 day journey to a 7 or 8 day journey. So it's going to roughly differ your time. Kind of, as I say, dotting out to little spots here and there. You aren't going to be able to circumvent the hills to the south that were effectively working like a barrier to Iron.
So we
although
have
there
to
are
take the
multiple
main-
routes through them.
Okay,
Well, there
yeah.
are routes through there, but you can't really go around them without adding another week again to the journey. But there are ways you can go, and there are routes that you can take that would be more forested. There are routes that you could take that would, for example, bring you more into contact with farming communities and things like that. Or you can stay on the main road. And I think most of whom you'll expect to encounter will be themselves merchants, and a lot of them will be traveling between these two main cities.
The question is if somebody was watching, because he's already told them where we were going. Where he would have told them the plan. We're assuming. So
Yeah, but he told them the plan when you think about it, like 45 minutes ago.
Give
You know
me
what I mean?
perception rolls, all of you.
Ooh,
So
I
we
have.
might be able to outspeed them here, but if not,
You're trained in this, aren't you, Gex?
Yes, meaning
18.
what do we think about just oh fucking hell, keep
I
rolling.
got 20, natural 20.
Oh, wicked! Well done, Gex.
I got a 9.
That's all right. So Sam and Gex both rolled quite well. 2 seconds.
Is there a natural stop coming up soon?
In terms of stopping playing?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, very firmly, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys discuss the plan a little bit, and then I'm going to end the session because
Sweet.
leaving the city is a pretty clear natural stop. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of your perception rolls, basically you're in. It's not a dense kind of caravan like a kind of constant line of traffic you're in. There are gaps and things like that, and there will be ways to slip off the road for a bit and kind of circumvent. But you can drop on and off this road as you come and go, and you can already see opportunities to do that. The other thing you will see is flying overhead. Wind rider vehicles, floating balloons. There are, the road is not the only way to travel out of Arilla. There are flying animals in the area, that sort of thing, including those which would be large enough at least to carry a message, if not carry a whole person.
So if we're worried
Yeah, I
about
saw-
pursuit, well,
Yeah, I
there's
saw
not
a
really much
picture of,
point
like,
in taking our time.
in the book, there's a picture of like a 4-winged Spitfire type thing.
Yeah, there is.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a thing called a wind rider that's a bit somewhere in between a glider plane and a hovercraft and things like that. There are ways of covering the ground very quickly indeed for people that want it.
Well, if messages are, if that's the case, if someone's going to send a message regarding us, maybe we should take a lengthier detour, just to avoid the beaten path, as it were. If we're worried about that.
And I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because you rolled a 20, Gex, and I haven't planned. This isn't really an opportunity to give you a major effect, but I'm just going to give you a point of XP.
Thank you.
Instead.
Well, the thing is, if, say, for instance, we take a crazy circuitous route up that of 2 weeks, something like that, and they're searching all the time for us, well, they essentially know our destination. So the longer we leave it, the further they are going to meet us near that destination. But they always know where we are going to go to.
What if we push this thing hard for a day and got well ahead?
Yeah, I'm intended to go back on my original idea and say we just take the main road.
Yeah.
And
go speedy
like,
for the first day.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Roll the dice and go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Get
the lead out for the first day. Let's do it.
Get the lead out for the first day, make up grounds, take it easier on the second day, and push it again on the third. Try just to surprise them with the amount of distance we cover.
Yeah.
Sound good?
It does.
Yeah. Well, with that, should we call it there?
Indeed.
Yeah, I've been up since very early, so that suits me.
Same. I saw you awake when I fucking went to work.
Oh yeah, I was up a few hours by then.
Yeah.
Well, I got up at 6.
Oof. It's 6 in the morning now.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's 2 of them.
Sleeping hour. Sure, at about 5 o'clock, I left my computer on and I went for like an hour's kip, intending to play Star Wars with the guys during the evening, and I slept for 12 hours.
Nice.
So it's like, shit.
Alright, let's
Yeah.
back up the table. I have saved it.
All right.
Sweet.
Cool. Yeah, I've got my notes in there.
My
Yeah,
notes are just
cool.
fine.
How are you guys finding?
Yeah.
Oop.
Finding tabletop, I assume you were going to say. You could have.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, tabletop would come